I'm trying to focus on this meeting.
Hey, if you're online, can you mute your mic until we're ready to speak? Thank you. Live. All right, thank you, everybody. I'm going to call this meeting to order. So I'd like to call the June 21st, 2023 Franklin Township Board of Supervisors meeting to order at 7 p.m. In attendance are myself, Chairman David Gerstenhaber, Vice Chair Donna D., and Supervisors Dowling, Johnson, and Torres. Also in attendance are Township Solicitor Guy Donatelli, our MS4 consultant Andrew Toilea, Nathan Klein from Pinoni, Township Operations Manager Jeff Eastburn, Township Controller, Office Manager Melissa Ortega, and Township Secretary Stacy Hollis. And there are, oh my goodness, lots of people from the public here in attendance tonight. So thank you and welcome to everybody. Let's start with our Pledge of Allegiance. Please rise. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, so I'm going to just make a couple of comments on the meeting tonight. Typically, township meetings have two public comment sections, a opening one, which will be now, which is to discuss agenda items. And then there's one at the end to discuss whatever subject you'd like to discuss that may or may not have been on the agenda. However, tonight, there's going to be a significant number of people in the audience who probably want to talk about the, one of the issues here, which is the proposals from the FSA hunting. So what I would like to do is when that topic comes up, we're going to hear from the FSA and their proposal. And then I will read the proposed motions. There won't be any discussion. I'll read the motions as they are written, and then I will open it up for public comment at that point. And because there's so many people, I would like to hear from as many as I can, and I'm sure the board agrees. We're going to limit the comment to 2 to 3 minutes so we don't spend too much time on any one person. We can just kind of go through and listen to as many people as we can speak. And then from there, the board, we're going to shut public comment down and the board is going to have their discussion. And so I'd also ask, as the board has their discussion, please refrain from shouting out and interrupting us because we do need to work through this. So that's how I think we're going to manage this. So with that, I will open for public. And if we're all right, so now I would like to open it for our initial public comment. This public comment may include anything related to tonight's agenda items. Commenters must state your name, whether you are a resident of the township or a non-resident taxpayer in the township. If you do not identify yourself, your comments will not be included in the official minutes. Do we have any public comment? Okay. Not hearing any, we can move to the next item. Donna?
Okay, so I'd like to make a motion that the board approve the May 17th, 2023 Board of Supervisor meeting minutes.
I'll second.
Okay, thank you. So second by Jim. Any discussion? Okay, all in favor, say aye. Aye. Any opposed, say nay. A motion passes 5-0. Thank you.
I'd like to introduce Guy Swift. I'm not sure whether he's online. He's not here, unfortunately. So shall we table that in case he comes later?
Table that until he joins us.
Okay.
The May 2023 Treasurer's Report includes the following disbursements. The general fund with disbursements and transfers of $335,117.08. The Park and Rec Fund with disbursements of $10,823.49. The Open Space Fund with disbursements of $5,608.46. The capital reserve fund with disbursements of $7,500. The emergency services fund with disbursements of $0. The fire hydrant fund with disbursements of $580.80, leaving a balance in all funds totaling $2,840,838.56.
Okay, I'd like to make a motion for approving the 23 treasury report as presented by Melissa. Second. Second, thank you. Second, any discussion?
Any discussion? Nothing? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Okay, carries 5-0.
Okay, so now I'd like to open up. Oh, that's the game one.
Was that not him?
All right, so I'd like to open up the discussion for the 2023 road program. Jeff?
Yes. I am happy to announce that, and I'm just gonna read some news.
Can you open up your mic, please?
The reprofiling and milling was completed and the millings repositioned and compacted on both the north and south sides of Old Schoolhouse Road today. Approximately 300 tons of 2A were mixed with the, an additional 200 tons of millings and placed and reprofiled on the cartway. The cartway is approximately on average is raised approximately 2 feet. The layout for the milling work on Hessmore Road, Johnson Lane, and Ways Run was painted on the respective cartways with the anticipation that milling will continue on these roads Thursday and Friday, weather permitting. And we also had inquiries from Ms. Weber of Old Schoolhouse Road and John Brock of Ways Run today. Our engineer took the time to speak with them today to address their concerns, and no significant changes to our original plans are needed to satisfy their concerns. So all went well today, pretty much for the road program.
So it looks like there's going to be rain in the forecast for the next few days. What does that do to our road program?
It's going to be a day-by-day thing, so I anticipate Long's calling me at home about 6:30 in the morning.
Okay.
And if it gets postponed, I'll immediately put it up on the website and Facebook
Great, thank
from
you.
home.
Really good progress. I know we really targeted trying to get this done before school starts. I think you guys are doing great. All right, so we're going to talk about the zoning officer's report. In the month of May, 32 permits were issued, $683.77 in permit fees, $0 in miscellaneous fees, $0 in recreation open space fees, and $0 in impact fees were collected. The 21 inspections were performed.
Oh, could I just get an update on one of the items on this here? There's a complaint on Oak Tree, 30 chickens and 13 goats on a 1.67 acre lot, I believe. My question would be on the letter that we have here says a civil complaint would be filed with the district court on or before June 15th. I was just hoping to get an update since we are past that date.
I'll be happy to let Melissa give you an update from Lamb's office.
Yes, so we did mail the complaint to the district court. We're just waiting for approval that it has been filed, but it is with them now.
Okay, I guess.
I'm sorry, has there been any conversation with the property owner?
I believe Mark Gordon has been out there quite a few times.
Yeah, so
So nothing since the complaint has been filed. They will get notice of the complaint though.
Thank you.
Okay, I'm up, right? Okay, this is a fun event here. Later will be stressful. This is fun. Franklin Fall Festival. If you guys haven't heard, September 16th. So the latest update on 2 Fridays ago, we mailed out a letter to give or take 77 local businesses, asking if they would like to be a sponsor. The sponsorships are range from, various things, how, just typical levels of sponsorships. And the idea here would be, we can raise a decent amount of money. The more money that we can raise, more things that we can offer to the public. So this is going to be Christiana Hospital will be here with the helicopter, the fire, Avondale and West Grove. I forget. Yep, State Police. We're gonna have a lot of booths set up. Pro will have a booth. FSA will have a booth. The Township will have a booth. I think it's a good idea for, local, some of our organizations here that it gives an opportunity to advertise and maybe get new members, new volunteers, a little bit of marketing. We'll also have a booth for Paul Lagasse and the Historical Commission. There'll be 3 different vendors for food, water, drinks. There'll be a hayride. There'll be a lot of things that we haven't yet developed. We'll have a couple of different bands since it's a 5-hour event. We're at this point, we're just waiting to get some money in from our sponsors. And we're at some point in the near future, we're going to need volunteers, the people that on that day that might be able to willing to help with regards to parking or, just we'll get there, but we're going to need some help from the public. So that's something we're going to reach out to shortly. And Stacy, Jeff, Dawn, am I missing anything? Plan swap. No, yeah, no, I forgot. Veronica and Dawn are going to set up a table too. Go ahead, Dawn.
No, we just want to work with the new healing garden, and we had a plant swap last August that was popular. So we're going to do another plant swap for this fall, and we hope to get some mums from the Amish and stuff like that.
Yeah, one quick thing. We did meet with the person who had headed a similar event in Penn Township. So we're going to start advertising. You probably saw it on Facebook, but if you haven't seen it on Facebook, we're going to start advertising the paper, put up yard signs, postings in businesses, etc. But last year, Penn Township had 3,000 people. So hopefully not that many this year, but for our initial one. But that's that's a quick update. Jeff, Stacey, did I miss anything?
The other little update is, I'm about 80% sure we will have a fire extinguisher company on site to be able to demonstrate how to use a fire extinguisher and under what circumstances. So that will probably be Hoops Fire Company.
Wanted to give you some updates. We got some free corporate sponsors donations. So we have a large amount of free Wawa water coming and discounted Hearst potato chips. I've reached out to Tasty Cake and Turkey Hill. So we're still waiting for them to see if they want.
Yay, free's good. Okay, Parks and Recreation. I have Paul or Andrea. You have a report?
Hi, I'm Paul Overton. I'm going to report this month. That's all I'll say. So our first topic was Dave Gerstenhaber attended our meeting, and he added hunting to our agenda, which we weren't expecting. And I think there's going to be a bigger discussion about that later on. So I'll just pass over that and ask for some time during the discussion then. The next one was Bamshire Preserve. 2 topics in Bamshire was I failed to rent a trail maintenance machine over the last month. The rental place we used to use doesn't carry them anymore, so I'm trying to work with the Delaware Trail Spinners to get one donated. The next topic was that the signs in the parking lot at Bamshire had been installed. Jeff consulted with the state police and got some good recommendations and fixed up the signage so that people park appropriately in the parking lot to maximize the number of spaces. They were parking on the wrong side and we couldn't fit as many cars. So that's good job, Jeff, and thanks for getting that done. And at Franklin Preserve, we have a poison hemlock problem on the east meadow, right where a trail goes through. And so we're trying to mow it as often as possible so that it doesn't go to seed. We mowed it last year, mowed it again this year. And so the mowing is done this year. And we suggest that the area along the road needs to be mowed. Like that's not in the park, but it's along the edge of the road there because there's a lot there and it'll just seed back into the pasture. And if the mowing doesn't work, isn't doing the job, we're going to come back and ask for some spraying because we don't want that stuff to spread. It seems to be really going crazy in Chester County. Future projects of the Pro, just throwing out some ideas for this year. Put up some more signage and in the Healing Gardens and on Mr. Sachs Meadow, and to maybe add some playground equipment to the playground. The most popular idea is a small zip line. Continue the maintenance on the Healing Gardens, and Dawn's covered that, and install an asphalt walking trail, a small connector between the soccer field parking lot and the lower pavilion parking lot. Because I've mentioned this before, when people do a walk, you end at the soccer field parking lot and then the trail ends in the woods. It goes nowhere. And then they end up walking on the road back. And so they miss a big part of the trail that they could use in the lower pavilion. And this little connector through the woods would provide a paved access and make a bigger loop. So you would gain a lot of the trail that's not being used, the paved trail. What I see is people walking in their little white tennis shoes with their dogs and they don't want to get off the pavement. So I think this would be preferred by most walkers. We talked about the Holmesy property that was preserved last year. Yeah, last year. That we need a project to clear that trail. We have a right of way for the trail. It's a very short trail, but we need to clear it. And then we have some other volunteer projects that we need to have an organized list for people's email or cell phones or whatever. And then we need what we call stone mulch around the newly planted trees in Crossan Park. We were unable to do it last fall, and it would be best to do it before this fall because the voles are most active in the winter seeking shelter, and they get under the tree shelters and make a little house and chew the bark off the saplings and kill them. So we want to get the stone mulch around the base of the tubes before fall. And then manage any Boy Scout projects that come in. I don't think we have any active at this time. We had a guy. Oh, on the arbor.
Yeah. I did get in touch with Owen. Owen's our Boy Eagle Scout that's working on the arbor for the Healing Garden. He just got home today from vacation. He goes to camp until the 1st of July. When he gets done with camp, he's got his money. He thinks he's going to start work on the 10th of July, and it shouldn't take but a couple days. So we're up to date on that.
Thank you. The other one is that there's some tree tubes that were removed from the Goodwin Preserve. We're not sure who did it, probably a well-meaning volunteer or something. And they're stacked in the parking lot. And there's some trees that the tubes are removed too soon. They're too small, and deer will damage the trees when they rub them in the fall. So one of our volunteer projects would be to go put some trees back on the thinner, put some tubes back on the thinner trees to protect them.
Can you reuse the tubes that were removed or?
Yeah, sure. Yeah. The other topic was watering trees in Crossing Park if necessary, and we were in like 6 weeks of dry weather, and we did ask Jeff. Jeff went and watered them, I don't know, 2 or 3 times, which was great because they were the trees donated, not the saplings, the 565 saplings. We're just talking about a half a dozen of the larger trees that people donated as a memorial tree. We didn't want them to die, so 3 of them were looking pretty rough, and so Jeff went and watered them, which I appreciate. Funny enough, the trees in the tubes of saplings look pretty good. Somehow the idea of the tube is that it preserves the tree, prevents wind blowing across it and evaporating the moisture from the leaves. It acts as a little miniature greenhouse, and it's been working. So the saplings are in good shape. And then Fall Festival, we already talked about that in this meeting. We also decided not to have a July meeting. It was, we meet on the first Wednesday, and it was like right after 4th of July. So our next meeting will be August. And then we elected a new chair, Andrea Roberts, as the pro board chair, and I'm the vice chair. Raise your hand, say yay. Thank you, Andrea. Because as you know, we reported last month that Greg Sachs is no longer with us. Not that he died, but he's not. He's dead to me. No. I didn't have a note here, but we also got a new member given to us, Bob. I see Bob back here. Thank you, Bob. So the Board of Supervisors assigned us a new member. So that's the end of my report. Did I miss anything?
Okay, there was no meeting of the Planning Commission this month, and the Historic Commission has no report, and the Franklin Sportsman's Association has no report because it's not hunting season.
Okay, just a quick update here with our friend from Aero Consultants, Andrew Tulea. Could you give us a MS4 update, please?
Sure. My name is Andrew Tulea. I work with Aero Consulting, and I work with the Township in order to comply with its municipal separate storm sewer, or MS4 permit, also known as the stormwater permit. And so what I'll do is talk about some activities that we have completed since the last board meeting. We finalized the Township's BMP inspection report, which was provided in my memo for this meeting. And we also provided a draft letter that we would like the Township solicitor to review, because one of the requirements of the stormwater permit is to evaluate all stormwater BMPs to confirm that they are being properly maintained. And if they are not being properly maintained, or if there's any outstanding maintenance requirements, contacting the responsible party to work with that party in order to remediate any issues. We looked at over 152 locations, and that information is information that we will be submitting with our annual report. We also have been working on drafts of the Township's pollution reduction plan and the TMDL plan. On the pollution reduction plan side, at this point, we are just waiting for DEP to approve PennDOT's pollution reduction plan in order to finalize the Township's pollution reduction plan, because we are partnering with PennDOT on the Big Elk Creek watershed stream restoration project. As of last week, we had no update that plan is approved, but we are communicating with PennDOT and DEP on the status of that plan. On the TMDL plan side, what we have been working on is mapping efforts in order to clean up the Township stormwater map, in order to delineate drainage areas to each outfall, so that we can identify how much credit the Township will receive for all of the prior projects that were included in the TMDL plan that was drafted by the prior engineer. So we are getting a lot done on the mapping side. We have revised over 200 feature locations, inlets, outfalls, stormwater BMPs. We have a little bit more work to do until we can run all of the calcs to know how much credit we'll get for all of those previously proposed projects. And so we do anticipate finishing that effort by the end of this month, and then running those calculations to determine how much credit we will get for the prior proposed projects. But on top of that too, we are also making a lot of strides in updating and making the township's MS4 map more accurate. So that is going to be done here in the coming weeks. And I'll have more of an update on those credits during the next board meeting. We also provided the annual staff training document to Jeff Eastburn. So it's a requirement of MS4 permit holders to provide staff training on an annual basis. The township staff is going to review that training and indicate that they have completed that training before July 1st. And just within the past few days, the township received an email from the Chester County Planning Commission. And what they are looking to do is they are looking to work with local governments and HOAs in order to help interested HOAs implement more sustainable practices in their common space areas, including green stormwater infrastructure, installing native plant species, installing riparian buffers, which frankly is really positive news, because at some point we may need to work with some of these HOAs in order to implement stormwater projects to meet the township's TMDL plan requirements or future PRP requirements. So I think that is really good news from my point of view. And so the three pieces of information that the Planning Commission is asking of townships to provide in response is input about current interactions with HOAs within your municipality, collect contact information for HOA boards and companies that may manage open space properties within certain neighborhoods, and also to provide ideas for HOAs to support this project. So Township Manager and I have been talking about coming up with a comprehensive list of all the HOAs in the township and identifying at least one board contact in the short term in order to one, respond to the Planning Commission, but two, create an internal inventory for us so that if we need to work with these HOAs on stormwater projects to fulfill these requirements, we can use that list and identify parties that may be interested in working with us for stormwater projects in the future. And so action items that we are looking to fulfill between now and the next meeting is to review the BMP inspection report and draft letter that we're looking to send out to responsible parties that own property that have BMPs that require maintenance. We are also going to conduct a facility audit at the township building and the building adjacent to the township building where equipment is stored, essentially doing a mock audit. As I mentioned in previous meetings, DEP has been more frequently doing audits of MS4 permit holders, specifically in the Southeast region, and we expect that to continue. So in addition to that facility audit that we're looking to conduct around the second or third week of July, we're also going to sit down and do some document search and acquisition for approved stormwater plans and O&M agreements so that we have that information in order to shore up our mapping and also provide that information with our TMDL plan submission. Assuming that the PennDOT PRP gets approved, including the Big Elk Creek Watershed Project, we can finish our PRP within a day or two and submit that to DEP. We are also, as I mentioned, confirming the credits that we will obtain from the previously proposed BMP projects after we finish our field work. We will review that information with the township. And again, acquiring those documents such as design plans and O&M agreements will be really important for that effort and for the plan submission. Additionally, we also have the opportunity still to correspond with any additional vendors or permit holders that might want to partner for the TMDL project. So I know that there was one party that was mentioned that we may be able to work with. So we are open to communicating with that party and any other party that's interested in working with the township to fulfill current or future stormwater restoration project requirements. That's all I have for my update right now, and I'll be happy to take any questions.
Yeah, so hi, Andrew. First of all, I want to commend you for your update. It was really well done. I do have several questions. So the first question, you talked about the TMDL credit calculations, and you said that you determined the best course of action is to only map stormwater conveyance for above features and collect subsurface data or at a later date. So I'm wondering why you made that decision and what impact that's going to have on our credits, because I'm assuming it means we'll have less credits. But could you address that, please?
So all that point means is that from our review, it looks like that the current stormwater map was taken from plans, and essentially they were digitized from plans, and they were not digitized from any boots on the ground GPS mapping. Initially just we looked at the map and said, all right, where do we have areas that are not showing conveyance connections between inlets or between inlets and stormwater BMPs? And so essentially, the more we go out and look at different areas, the more essentially items we find that need to be corrected, re-verified, or some of the subsurface information such as invert depths or invert direction need to be corrected. And while that information is very important to have, I think from our point of view, the priority right now is to update the mapping to show conveyance direction, and not spend as much time collecting pipe size information or certain invert depths at all the inlets in the township. So in order to do the calculations for the TMDL, we need to determine the conveyance from roads, for example, into stormwater BMPs. We don't necessarily need to spend the time right now collecting invert information because while DEP has said that they will be patient with the township in order to submit its TMDL plan, we still think that there's going to be a significant amount of work to map inlet invert depths and also get all the pipe sizes that are outstanding within the township. So, and it's not, go ahead.
Yeah, I guess my main question is, I understand it's going to take time, but will it negatively impact our credits? Or do you think that's negligible? No. That's all I want to know. Okay, so because credits help us, that it's less work that we have to do. We have the credits. Okay, so the second question I had was I did look at the BMPs, right? And we had I think there was like 152 that you inspected, right? That's what your sheet says. And 120 looks like were removed from the database. I was just wondering why was that? Is that a good thing or a bad thing?
So the reason that we said that we removed them from our BMP database is because under the MS4 permit, you are required to compile a database of BMPs that were built after the year 2003.
Okay.
So upon our review, we felt that a lot of the stormwater features that were mapped previously and considered BMPs were built prior to that 2003 date. And
Okay.
so while the township ordinance does state, and prior ordinances did state that if you have a stormwater feature on your property, you are responsible for maintaining it, specifically for the BMP database that we need to submit with the annual report. Anything prior to 2003 or anything that does not meet the current design standards should not be included in the BMP database.
Okay, so that's fine. I just want to know why, because it was a lot. I mean, it was most of them. So that you have, as long as you have a good reason. I am pretty anal about this stuff. I did look through the report. And you've reported that there were 3 BMPs not requiring maintenance. I counted 5, but you can go back and look at that again. So a goal is, I think we talked about this before, and you said that the PRP plan, the PennDOT, assuming it gets approved, that will cover us. But the TMDL plan is something that you guys are actively working on with us. I'm not trying to rush you, but any sense of when we might have a first draft of that?
Our goal is to have a draft ready including all of the calculations for prior BMPs that we included by the next meeting.
Okay.
However, I think we previously discussed having board input in terms of which BMPs we do want to include to show that we are, how we're going to meet that requirement. So, so in terms of having a draft with all of the prior BMPs and their credits that they would get, our goal is to have that by the next meeting.
That's great.
And then, yeah.
And then I have one last promise, one last thing. So for the letter, I looked at the letter and I just a couple comments, and I'm happy to send them to the lawyers. But there is it is addressed to property owners that may have no idea that this is coming at them. And so I would suggest that we don't go with 30 days. I think we have to give them more time to just react to what's going on, make a phone call to the township and say, okay, what is this? So I'm suggesting 60 days, but my main comment is I think it needs to be more than 30. And then there's a line in this letter that says failure to comply with township stormwater ordinances can result in further enforcement action. I would delete that for right now. I mean, like I said, these folks are getting this thing for the first time. Let's give them a chance to read it, understand it. And then if we have to go any further, but I don't, not that we're threatening, but I don't want to take that as our first approach. It's more like, we want to work together on this. So those are, I can send them to lawyers, but I just want to make those comments. The board, I don't know.
Don, I agree with you. I was also going to comment on the letter. I think 60 is probably good because I don't think it makes a difference. Plus it's summertime. People might not be around. The other thing, the one, in addition to the time frame, if I got this letter, I wouldn't know what to do.
Yeah, I'd be freaking. Right.
Yeah, I mean, unless you want to have every resident call you, or maybe you can address what this deficiency is, or or if there's a boilerplate document you might have, these are the things, vegetation, whatever it is. But if I got a letter and I had something that I need to be responsible for, and it's been sitting on my property for 15 years, I wouldn't know what to do. So.
Understood. And one thing that I did not include as the second page of that letter is that within that master inspection report, what we would do is the letter will be addressed to the property owner because the person who actually resides there might not be the one who's actually responsible for maintaining it. But we would add a second page with the summary results section of each inspection, including photos that would have notes about what we observe. So just to provide some more context, we would include a second page with the results and photos taken at their location.
Thank you so much. Again, like I said, I think you guys have done a great job. So thank you.
Ms. D, if I could.
Sure, Guy, I'll let you get a word in.
Yeah, no, I don't need to review the letter if the only purpose of the review are your two comments and Member Torres's agreement. I think 60 days is fine. It's legally compliant. You can do that. And you can remove the in terrorem clause if you wish. I see no legal reason to state the obvious. So if you want to make it a kindler, gentler notice, you can already it's already past legal as far as I'm concerned.
So could you live with 90 days?
Well, I think that's, quite frankly, I think that's a matter of discretion. I don't want, I would say to you that when you start talking about 90 days, you perhaps start talking about a period of time in which folks could lose focus or lose the incentive to comply or just forget about it completely innocently. So I think 60 is a good start, and perhaps at some point Andrew will consider a follow-up letter depending on the level of compliance.
Thank you.
All right, good enough. All right, thank you, Andrew. I appreciate the update. The next item is we're going to move over to business, and we're going to talk about the solicitor's report. Guy, can you run through our bullet points?
Sure, and I think I can make up some time unless there are questions. As far as the MS4 and PennDOT initiative is concerned, That's all been presented, discussed, documented, executed and forwarded to PennDOT so that it could then move through the Commonwealth approval process. It has not done that yet. I have reached out periodically for Mr. St. Clair. He has not, most importantly, because I know I'm going to get this question, I asked, do you want me to send you a check? And the answer was, well, you wouldn't send it to me, you would send it to the contractor, but the answer to your question is no, hold on to your check. So I'm awaiting a fully executed agreement from PennDOT. But in my view, you are compliant, you've been diligent, language that you've approved in your participation agreement has been adopted by other local municipalities. So I don't think there's much that your board needs to do with respect to that initiative.
So the question that I had, and maybe there was a blip when you were talking, maybe you addressed it, was DEP approval of the PennDOT plan. So, we did a pretty thorough job making sure that we protected the township in this agreement, but I think we were still waiting on whether or not the DEP had approved PennDOT's approval. Do we know proposal? Do we know where we stand with DEP and PennDOT?
My latest inquiry, which was roughly 10 days ago, is that there has been no approval yet. So
my question to you is, do we send a check in until after we get it approved? Do we not wait to?
I'm not going to recommend that you provide any money until I have a signed agreement back.
And it's okay, but assuming you have the signed agreement and PennDOT hasn't approved it yet, will we submit or would we send a check or not send a check?
I would, because baked into the agreement is a provision that in the event that the project is not approved, you are reimbursed the money that you paid. So I would be comfortable at that point, given the parties with whom we're dealing, in making that payment.
Any questions on MS4 and PennDOT for Guy? All right, I think we can move on to Mount Olivet Road.
All right, I'd like then the record to reflect that we're opening our hearing on the adoption of the ordinance number, pull my materials, 2023-02, which is the approval of designation of the Mount Olivet Road as a bike path for bicycle, pedestrian, and equestrian use only. I will note that this is not a vacation of the township's rights of this cartway. It's simply a repurpose of it consistent with the second-class township code, section 2330. I will note for the record that public notice has been given and that the ordinance has been provided to the Chester County Law Library, which has a copy of it, and we have proof of publication. So with that, I will just briefly outline what this ordinance does for your community. As you may be aware, you passed a similar ordinance regarding Franklin Road several months ago. And during the period between then and now, the Mount Olivet Bridge has been conveyed from the county to the township for $1. And this ordinance that's before you tonight simply designates the sort of the other side of that bridge as that pedestrian path on Mount Olivet Road between Stricklersville Road and Walker Road. So it's not a complicated bit of legislation. It's fairly clear that I think the board has been working on this as long as I've had the privilege to work with the board. So I would recommend that you've dotted all your I's and you've crossed all your T's, and I would recommend that you consider the proposed motion favorably, and I'd be happy to answer any questions that you might have.
So this is probably too much of a detail here for me, from me. But in the motion, as it's read, it's as a bike path for bicycle, pedestrian, and equestrian use only. Is that bike path a official designation? I think I would prefer the wording just to call it a path. But I don't know if bike path has some implication.
I would recommend, given the language of the ordinance, that we keep it the way it's drafted.
That's fine with me. That's why I asked. Okay. All right. So I'll read the motion and then open it for any discussion. So I'd like to make a motion that the board approve ordinance number 2023-02, designating Mount Olivet Road as a bike path for bicycle, pedestrian, and equestrian use only. May I have a second?
I'll second that.
Okay.
Doesn't matter.
All right. Thank you, Dawn. Any discussion? Okay. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Any opposed, say nay. All right. Motion carries 5-0. Thank you, everybody. All right. Lexington Point.
Yes, I will ask Mr. Eastburn to verify what I'm about to say, because it was the Lexington Point issue was not handled directly by me. It was handled by my partner, Vince Pompo, and I know he worked closely with Mr. Eastburn on that. I did sit down with Vince and with Melissa and with Jeff today. We spent about an hour going over the agenda and various issues related to it. And my understanding is that the issues surrounding Lexington Point have been or are being addressed, and there does not appear to be anything concerning that needs to be addressed. But I'm going to defer to Mr. Eastburn on that.
That's my understanding through Mr. Pompo. So this topic was just a placeholder tonight, but after talking to Vince and Guy today and Melissa, it seems like that development's in good hands with us. I don't have any concerns as of right now.
Well, hearing no questions, shall we move on, Mr. Chairman, or?
I think so. Mackey Court.
All right. So just by way of background, we need to divert stormwater from Mackey Court through some pipeline so that it can discharge that wastewater, that stormwater at a Franklin Road inlet or Franklin Road location. The work will involve, I think, a berm to take water to a particular point, and then it will require an easement, which is a right in property that a township would have or anybody would have, given by the owner of that property for the construction and installation of a pipe through which that water would traverse through to its terminus. Contained in your materials are what I would call fairly conventional storm sewer easement agreements, which I recommend that we provide to the two property owners whose property is affected. When I first became involved in this undertaking, what I had done was I had simply taken an aqua easement for water. A lot of people have those. They're familiar with those easements. But my partner Vince Pompo recommended a specific storm sewer easement agreement, which he provided and which we circulated. It's very simple. The construction is performed by the township and/or its contractors. The property is then restored after the work is completed, and there'll be some engineering necessary. And then the pipe will forever be able to be used for the purpose of conveying that water, and the township will always have the obligation to maintain or otherwise make sure that pipe does what it's supposed to do. So the property owners, although they have impressed on their property an improvement, it's underground, but it will always be maintained by the township, and there should be very little impact, if any, quite frankly, on the property upon which it's constructed. So we've presented these storm sewer easement agreements. I think the next step would be to reach out to the folks involved, sit down with them, explain with them what we're talking about, get them comfortable. I think some of that's already been done. And as far as documenting it is concerned, it's no more complicated than the 2 pages we have, in my view, with a map contained in your binder. So that's essentially the update on the Mackey Court easement documents. Evidently, we do not need an easement for the berm, so we're lucky there.
Thank you.
Can I just confirm, Jeff, just so we have for the public record, that you have been in contact with the homeowners?
Yes,
They know this is coming. This is not going to be a surprise to them, and hopefully they'll be happy about it because we're going to fix a problem.
I think Mr. Higginson will be extremely happy. And if the board can agree on this form of easement, my goal in the next 5 working days for me and Ron is to meet with those 2 homeowners. And then once we have them signed, our next thing is to do any little surveying that we need to do. We'll have to do some, but it will be appropriate and needed for this project.
So I don't see a motion here. Is there something that we need to do via a motion, Guy, or is this township business that can be handled through the office?
It could be handled through the office. All I would really want, and I've asked for this sort of approval before, all I would really want would be a head nod from the board to give us approval to take this action, and we will bring back to you at the appropriate time a fully completed and executed easement agreement for your formal approval.
Okay. All right.
Do a thumbs up.
All right. So we're all in agreement. I think we're all in agreement. And I mean, in this situation, it's just unfortunate. I think there's a couple of engineering errors that led us to this point, and now we're kind of rectifying the situation. So it's not really much that we can do about it.
Correct.
So-
It's something we need to correct this. And just for the record, this was pre-Ron Reagan. So Ron Reagan's been very helpful in finding a solution.
Great. Thank you. Yes, we can move on.
All right, so.
Thank you, Guy.
Yeah,
You're
thanks,
welcome.
Guy. So we're gonna move on to some stormwater management waiver requests, and we've been working with our engineer, Panoni. So the first one has to do with 552 Chesterville Road. And I'll read the motion and then we can talk about it. So I would like to make a motion that the board approve Nathan Klein of Panoni's June 14, 2023 recommendation letter regarding the style 552 Chesterville Road waiver request. Who is that, Stefan? Okay, great. So we'll do one at a time. So any discussion? I just want to note that there is a document in our meeting books where the engineers state that they feel that this is a good thing, and that there's a good reason for doing it, and it won't have any negative impact. Okay, so we're good.
So let me just talk a little bit, just real quick,
Sure.
just put it on the record, that what we're talking about here for the first one is if they're in the right, thank you. So for the first one, these waiver requests are fairly minor. And so one is we have a zoning requirement that all grading be set back no less than 10 feet from the property line. And this waiver is that the property owner requests to do some grading that's going to take place within 8 feet of the property line. And due to the unique nature of the property, our engineers have found that this is a minor request in the grand scheme of the project. And so that's the impact there. So we're not making any they're not making any major revisions to our zoning, or we're asking for a waiver to anything major with our zoning on this particular case.
Yeah, they says because of the way the land's shaped, it makes sense to do that. You actually probably do more damage if you
Try to do it.
try to follow them. So do you want me to go?
So I guess we'll vote now for this.
So all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, say nay. Okay, so now we want to move on to 3 Haslin Lane. I'll read the motion, then we can talk about it. I would like to make a motion that the board approve Nathan Klein of Panoni's June 14th, 2023 recommendation letter regarding the Davis 3 Haslin Lane waiver request. And I think this one has to do with the length or the width of something, and it's because it's of the shape of the property. Yeah, it's more like they call it a flag shape. He couldn't do it, the person couldn't do it if they wanted to. So it's reducing that amount.
I'll second it, Don.
Okay, thanks. Make it more difficult than I have to. Hi, Jim. Any other discussion? Okay, so we'll vote then. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, say nay. Okay, motion carries 5-0. Thank you.
All right, next we're moving on to we have some milling piles over in Franklin Preserve, and we got cited by Chester County Parks and Recreation that Jeff Eastburn can fill us in on.
Yes, these millings have been at Franklin Preserve for approximately 2 years. They were slated, and Paul will correct me, for trails, I believe within Crossan Park or Franklin Preserve. In a nutshell, they want us to do something with these millings, whether it be remove them, develop a plan and put them on the trails, or my third idea or dream has always been to create a overflow parking lot, something similar, if everyone's familiar with Banffshire Preserve. And it would be located approximately on the old ranch house that used to be up front. So it's got a good foundation underneath of it, but we've been asked and told nicely, we need to do something with them.
They were referring to as Chester County Parks and Rec.
Yes,
So
they contacted me.
Jeff, what is the violation? Just so we understand, what is it?
They've not said a specific violation other than they want to work with us, but they want to plan.
I think
They
it's,
just don't want to
there's,
sit there for years.
we're using the question is, okay, well, is the township just using the preserve as a dumping ground for raw material?
Right.
And for millings, the township usually will dump anything extra here, or we use them right away.
Right.
And so this is a unique situation where we had the intent to use them and it's been
Right.
sitting. And so now we've got to come up with something to do with them.
Right. So we have those 3 options. I took the initiative to talk to the county. They do like the idea of that parking lot. If the board decides to do that. And one of the key things now would be, since we're doing the road program, now as we speak, and my anticipation is we will need more millings for our parking lots. And now would be the time, if the board wants to go to that direction, to get them dumped there and then start creating that parking lot if the board desires.
I'm with you. I think the idea of additional parking there would be beneficial. That was my question. I've seen the amount of millings we have there, and I don't know the amount of millings, what would be needed. What percentage do we have relative to the type of parking area that you would?
Don't hold me to it. I'd say we probably have 50% of what we need.
We can get the other 50% by the time the road program,
I
by September 16th.
am, if I get the head nod from the board, I will do everything I can to make it happen.
Okay.
But now's the time when it's being milled, it's in the back of the truck. So we not moving it twice or 3 times.
Hey, Jeff, would that parking lot be accessible by the current entrance, or would you have to go around to the other side? So instead of going into the driveway, the main driveway, and making a right into the existing parking lot, you'd make a left somewhere near there.
Or is it that gate where you go from the gate that's always closed, it's off, that goes into Franklin Preserve?
Right. You would open that gate for the overflow parking, and then people would have the option. There's a nice trail, I think Matt Thompson made between Franklin Preserve and Crossan Park that they could walk through. And then we also have what I call a man gate for people to walk through, if we wanted something more clear, and open for people.
So when, have we talked about, has the pro talked about this yet? When I know they had some plans for the trails with the millings, can we give them the option to go over this before the board makes a decision? I mean, I don't see any reason why we wouldn't do that.
I'm here to do what the board would like me to do.
So the question I have is, well, I mean, I don't think the Chester County Parks and Rec are going to come down with the police force and
No,
so I think we have some time. There's no mandate to get this done. So we might maybe at the next pro meeting discuss what we can do immediately with those and one of them be the potential parking lot.
but keep in mind, by the next time there's a pro meeting, the road program will be finished.
Okay.
Why don't we invite the pro to our next planning meeting?
Yeah, let's do that at the work. We can do that at the workshop meeting.
But we're not having.
Have one either.
Now, here's the next thing, not to throw a monkey wrench into it.
Can we have a special meeting at some point where
We can if you want. It would have to be a special meeting.
Yeah.
Because I anticipate by the July board meeting, it's going to be done, the road program.
Right. Okay.
When do you
Yeah, it's just-
when you start milling again, when are you gonna create more millings?
Tomorrow morning.
So can we not?
12 hours.
Because I don't think there's any rush. Really.
Well, it is.
I mean, I think if we have I think we can probably meet. I mean, we don't all have to, I don't know if we all have to meet, but I would like to have, if the pro had a plan,
No.
right, I would give them an option to discuss it.
Jeff, are you going to take the millings going forward and just put them in the preserve until?
I don't want to do that unless, again, I get the head nod from the board. I don't want to put 10 more loads out there and then have to take 10 loads out. It's going to cost us money at the end. So unless we're pretty sure we're going to use them, I wouldn't recommend doing it.
But so tomorrow, when you have the millings, where are they going to go?
Well, the short answer is we can find a home for them, but we will no longer own them.
Well, can we put them, we have space here, no?
Why not just do the, why not
Just do the parking lot. We all think it's a good idea. And if the pro has other ideas, they can get the next set.
We can. I just don't,
Continue to have more of them.
I just don't want to make an assumption. Like I said, if
They've been there 2 years.
Right, that's what I'm saying. Let's just do it. We need the park, we want the parking lot. You want to have it by September. We don't want to move things twice. They're gonna create more tomorrow. And I promise the pro will you'll get you more if you have a plan, but.
yeah, they're going to make more tomorrow and throughout next week. So
We really need to make a decision.
again, I'm more than willing to do whatever the board wants. I just want to bring it to your attention. I know Paul has his thoughts and the pro for the trails. I have mine for the parking lot, so.
But we can do both. It's just a timing issue.
I think we should save them and just put them where the other ones are right now. We'll decide within the next couple of weeks what to do.
Okay.
Instead of just giving them away.
No, it wouldn't be. I would say do the road, do
Right.
the parking
The
lot.
parking lot. That's why I said, put them where the others are now, so we can do the parking lot. But
No, I would put it in the parking lot. So
not in the parking.
So can you put, when these buildings are, if we give you an answer tonight and we send them, this is ifs. If we agree that we want to do the overflow parking lot, right? What would you do with the millings that you created tomorrow? Would you take them and put them in the overflow parking lot?
That's where I would put them.
Yes.
I would personally work with Ron Reagan and Jim Durazio and go, they know this is my thought here, and I want them to say yes or no.
Right, so it's not putting where they are now, it's to take them and put them in the, where they're.
That's what I meant.
That's what you said.
Jeff, I think the idea, this is my idea. The millings have been there 2 years and nothing has been done with them. So if we get more millings tomorrow and going forward, we could put them in like we're all saying right now, we put them in the preserve for the parking lot. There will be millings in the future.
Yes.
That we can be used for pro, and the pro can discuss them at their convenience.
Mhm.
And then there'll always be millings. But
Yeah.
right now, what we don't have, and Melissa made the point, I don't know if we need to vote on your suggestion for the parking lot at the preserve.
Just probably not or something or.
Well, it's not a motion. I mean, it's not something that we need to do a motion on or a resolution.
And the only other question I have on that is that there has been vandalism at the park by putting a parking lot. Does that person then have some type of access to get through to the avoiding the gate at all?
It's just another gate.
No, because there's
It,
another gate.
it's just another gate, so I'm just using the example. If we had both open in the morning at 8 o'clock, both would be closed at night at dusk. Yep.
I think the piles are already there, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, so
Wow.
look, I'll defer to the board if we think we want to move ahead with the temporary parking lot. I'm defer to the board. All right,
So just to assure the board, I am going to work with Ron Reagan. I'll work to Jim to whatever extent he needs to. And then I will be in touch with the county. So.
good enough.
So could I say something? So, I mean, this is the first I'm hearing about it. I don't know if the other pro members, there's a lot of us here tonight, but I don't think we've heard about it. But, you know, we could have discussed it over the last several days if you guys had let us know about it, just over email or something. But we've discussed in the past, we also want a parking lot there, but I think it's a matter of exactly where it would be, where the best place is. Like where the piles are now is, my opinion, the best place. Because it's an easy walk over to the dumpster there, the road, yeah.
Okay.
But the house was on the other side of the hedges, so this would be where the mushroom house was, or whatever it was. But I'd also remind you that this has to be an engineered plan, like we have to do stormwater for this. So before you start spreading them, make sure we're legal and setting a good example for stormwater.
That's why I'm going to be working with Ron Reagan.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Good enough. Thank you. All right. So anything else on the millings? All right. Moving on, let's now open up the conversation for our Deer Management Program. At this time, I'd like to introduce Mark Zawada, the FSA Vice President, to discuss the requests for consideration to the Board of Supervisors.
Good evening. I'm Mark Zawada. I've been a Franklin Township resident for 31 years, and I'm the Vice President of the Franklin Sportsmen's Association, or the FSA. I've been a member since its inception, and I wanted to thank you for allowing the FSA to be here tonight and to present this proposal. The FSA was founded by a resolution of the Board of Supervisors for the 2011 season. Each year, our performance is evaluated by the Board of Supervisors prior to them voting on continuing the resolution for the next year. The Board of Supervisors limited us to 35 members. Currently, our membership is 25 township residents and 10 non-residents. Franklin Township residents get priority on our waiting list. And to date, no resident has waited longer than a year to get in the organization. Contrary to what you may have heard or seen, we're a public club and hold meetings the last Thursday of every month at 7 p.m. in this building. So we'd be happy to introduce ourselves if anyone wants to stop by and get to know us, or if they're interested in the club or have any questions. Some of the other requirements that we have that we fulfill is we must carry insurance. And these were Board of Supervisor requirements. We must pass a proficiency test with firearm or archery equipment. Whatever you're going to use to hunt, you have to pass a proficiency test. Most of us have to pass it with both, since we hunt with both. We must complete the Pennsylvania Game Commission PA bow hunter safety course to archery hunt. That's in addition to the regular hunter safety course. We must provide a monthly activity report each month from the start of hunting season until the end of the season to the board. We also follow all Pennsylvania Game Commission regulations and our FSA bylaws and procedures. So the FSA itself requires its members to complete at least 2 service projects a year. Many members complete more than this. In 2022, we performed 311 hours of work for Franklin Township. Using Yardworks weed whacking rate as a reference, that would come to $21,536 of savings for the township. In our 12 years of existence, we have culled 162 deer, providing a valuable service and trying to maintain a healthy ecosystem on township properties. We accomplished this while fulfilling our number one goal, which has always been safety. So we have had 0 safety incidents in the 12 years, 0. In fact, there have been no negative incidents reported to us anyway in the 12 years. We would really like to thank the Board of Supervisors for the opportunity that we enjoy hunting the township properties. It's especially nice for the resident members to have nice property close to home that, you know, don't have to travel to, and that's very much appreciated. So, I don't know, do you want me to go right into the proposals, or?
That's up to you.
I don't know. I don't know your format.
You don't have anything else?
That was just an introduction about the group for people who don't know us.
Okay, great. So, you know, at the beginning of the meeting, I walked through, how we were going to do this. I was going to read the proposals as they're written and then open up for public comment. What I would like to do is limit the time for public comment to 2 to 3 minutes. And then just so there's a lot of people here in the room and there's a lot of people online, I want to make sure that we get through as many people as have something to say, give that an opportunity to say. So let me read the motions and then I will open and comment. Sorry. Oh,
Thank you. Me too. So I'm sorry for those online. I didn't have my mic on. I was just reiterating what the proposal is. And so Mark just wrapped up, and I will read I'm going to read the 3 proposals as they were presented to the board. And then I will open it up to public comment. Okay. So the first motion is I would like to make a motion that the board approve the beginning of hunting season at Franklin Township to start November 1st. The second motion is I would like to make a motion that the board approve the closing of 2 cross trails in Banffshire Preserve from November 1st until December 15th. And then finally, I would like to make a motion that the board approve the openings, and I've stated them zones 1, 2, and 3, which would be the north portion of Crossan Park for shotgun and archery in zones 1 and 2, and zone 3 for archery only. So those are the 3 motions as they were written and presented to the board. Let me see if I can bring up zones 1, 2, and 3. But as I'm working with my computer to bring up zones 1, 2, and 3, I will open up for public comment. And I see Paul had raised his hand, so I'll give him the first crack at public comment while I bring up my.
Well, Dave, when I did my pro update, I held my comments or discussions we had from our meeting. So I wanted to go over some of that before you voted. So that's what I wanted to use my time for. So could I present something, Dave? Is it possible to share?
If you have your computer open, but before you do that.
Yeah, show your zones. But
I want to show my
Jeff,
zones
if
first.
you could allow me to share when he's ready.
Let's see here. You know what? You can go ahead and share because I still have to join the Zoom meeting apparently.
Jeff, do you have the zones? Because then you could show.
Yeah, if you have the map, you can just share yourself, which should be just as easy. Yeah.
Because we haven't seen the zones.
It's in the meeting. It's in the meeting book. Should be able to get to it pretty quick. So not that one. It would be the next one.
I don't know if Mark wants to explain that.
There it is.
Mark Zawada again. The initial one he showed with the 6 zones was what we were going to propose. And then we did hear pushback from the pro and some Franklin Township citizens. So this is the revised second one.
So the proposal would be zones 1 and 2 would be archery and shotgun, and then zone 3 would be archery only.
I don't think he's sharing that online.
He should be. He should be sharing it online.
It's there.
Yeah, he's sharing the screen.
Oh, I don't see it.
All right. So, Paul, you wanted to bring up the pro discussion?
Yeah. I can't see it on my screen, but where's the creek there? I'm having trouble seeing it.
Mr. Chairman, can I make an observation? So we're giving everyone 2 to 3 minutes to speak. And when Mr. Overton began his comments, I started to time him. And that 3 minutes is up. It's unfair, of course, because of the manner in which the presentation is being made, and we're trying to bring things up on the screen. Let's call someone to the podium or as a commenter. I will start my clock. They'll have 3 minutes. I'll tell them when 2.5 minutes is up. That's the way I think we should handle it. I'm sort of having a hard time doing that.
That sounds fair to me. So, so within the room, do we have any public comment?
Well, can I go first though?
I don't understand.
But Dave, I mean, I'm supposed to give my pro comment, so I'd like to have more than 3 minutes. Man, Jesus.
Well, you're still getting yourself set up.
No, I'm ready. I'm ready, but Jeff hasn't let me share. So it says host disabled.
My name's John Auerbach. I've been a property owner in Franklin Township for 44 years, and I operate a 50-acre farm. In the years I've lived here, I've observed the white-tailed deer population grow enormously. In the past, it was unusual to see a deer. But today, every time I step outside, I see 1 or 2. These are incredibly beautiful and graceful animals, but the population density has become a nuisance. Crop damage is significant, as the first 5 rows of corn on the perimeter are consumed before harvest. Additionally, traffic hazards are currently significant, as most residents are already aware by their observations and/or collisions. The environment in Franklin Township is complementary for a large population growth. Food supply and lack of predators are probably the factors. The Franklin Township Sportsman Association, FSA, provides an effective culling service to manage deer population. The township should support and cultivate this activity. By these comments, I do not intend to offend anyone who is unfamiliar with hunting. I recognize there's strong emotion and some misinformation about hunting in general. Hunting is a safe activity when conducted by responsible individuals in conjunction with the rules and regulations of the PA Game Commission. Specifically related to the FSA, I've known and interact with this group since its inception in 2010 as a supervisor for 10 years and a resident for 13 years, and found all members to be responsible, fully understanding the hunting regulations, and by all means safe in all their actions. I have attended all their qualification functions and observed each member how they manage their bows and shotguns in the qualification process. In all cases, the FSA members handled their bows and shotguns with great care and safety for themselves, fellow members, and the surrounding land. They're strong supporters of the environment and act as stewards of the land. Additionally, they have continuously provided community service that directly benefits residents at Franklin Township. Their annual contribution of 300 service hours not only benefit the township residents, but provide a financial benefit of somewhere around $7,000 to $8,000 a year in avoided contractor costs. When Franklin Township needs help with repairs from vandalism,
30 seconds.
roadside cleanup, and other special projects, etc., the FSA are the first to step up and volunteer. In closing, there have been hunting accidents in PA. But when you investigate the details of these incidents, you will find that someone has conducted themselves in an irresponsible and reckless manner. Based on my extensive experience at the FSA over 13 years, I cannot imagine a member of the FSA behaving in a manner that is unsafe or outside hunting regulation. The FSA members always conduct themselves with safety and caring for themselves, people around them, the land and the environment. Thank you.
Okay. May I speak? This is Mary McVeigh, a resident of Franklin Township.
Hey, Mary, just can you hold on for 1 second? Paul Overton is ready to go.
Absolutely.
Thank
Okay.
you.
Thank you.
A quick question. Is it fair that Paul can operate here as opposed to going to the podium like everybody else? It doesn't matter, but
I have to operate my computer.
Yeah, I don't have an issue with him sitting there.
Just go. I mean, it's time.
Yeah,
I think the camera gets me, right? All right, so I'm going to speak for the pro, since I gave up my time earlier in this meeting, so I'm hoping I'm not limited to 3 minutes because I can't possibly do that. This is a hot topic for the pro. The topic was
Let me stop you. Let me stop you right there. Mr. Chairman, are we going to let Mr. Overton speak for more than 3 minutes? We should figure that out in advance.
Yeah, I think we need to keep it concise. I don't know if there's anything outside. 5 minutes? You can do this in 5 minutes?
Unlikely.
Well, you can't have 20. Yeah.
It's really important. We need to get Paul as much time as we need.
I'm on a throw board as well. He can take my time.
All right, 9 minutes,
Really.
5 + 6, 11.
11 minutes. 11 minutes, there we go.
This is important for the community. We need to hear what the board has to say as well as the other
Right.
residents.
And the other people, so-
We have public comment and we can't keep going. We have a lot of people in this room.
Committees, they need to speak.
So I think Paul start.
All right.
All right, so
So-
I will give you a 10-minute, I'll give you a 1-minute warning at the 10-minute mark. Is that fair?
Thank you.
There.
So
Why should he decide the time?
Because we did, as the board, we have the right to decide how long each members.
We just told him.
We told him and he's following our direction.
Paul, go, please go.
So the comments I'm going to make are about the preserves only. I don't want anybody to misconstrue my comments about hunting in the private lands or the state parks or anything else but the preserves. It's all we're talking about tonight, correct? So I thought it would be helpful to look at some of the areas around us, the neighboring parcels that are similar. Oh, that's on his screen. Okay. So I think the closest parcel to us that's owned by a township is Lennon Grove's Goddard Park. It's, how come I can't get rid of this? You see that? So there's 125 acres. There's no hunting allowed in Goddard Park. And while I was researching this, I thought it was interesting to note that they put in $160,000 worth of trails. So their focus is clearly on the people and the trails. There's no baseball fields, no soccer fields, trails, and a playground. The next closest one I found is White Clay Creek State Park in Delaware, specifically the Middle Run section. The Middle Run section is not a state park. It's a county park, Newcastle County Park. It's 850 acres. It's the red circled area here. This is the map of White Clay Creek State Park, and it's the tan here. In that area, in that 850 acres, there's no hunting allowed except 2 days a year where the park is closed to all residents. I took that picture of the sign on the right. They close it for 2 days and allow 20 hunters to come in. They call them pre-approved master certified hunters. You see the highlighting there. They're put in specific stand locations that are pre-approved away from trails and roadways. And they have to take hunter education courses, criminal background checks, shooting proficiency, things like that. So that's 850 acres, 20 guys, 2 days. The next section is the Judge Morris Estate, 500 acres also in Delaware, right beside the area I just talked about. This is a state park, so it is more hunted. Here they assign specific stand locations, the black dots. These dots, the round ones are archery and square ones are gun and archery. And you can see they're put far from the trails in the open spaces. They're not allowed to hunt anywhere. The trails are open during archery season. Now, I was thinking, wow, how do they do this? How do they, it's great that they put the stands away. The people are assigned there so they know where they're hunting, and they're all on elevated platforms so that they're only shooting down. I think that's key so that a stray arrow or stray slug is not going through the woods and who knows where. So that's key. We don't require that anymore. We're used to. So here I thought, how do they fit that in? Well, what I realized is the scale of this. You see the scale at the bottom. This is 1,000 yards. So here I inset Banffshire Preserve. This is 1,000 feet. So this is to scale. So this Banffshire, look how dense our trails and how small our preserve is compared to theirs. So if you look at their stands per acre, it's 30 acres per stand. We are 10 acres per zone. So that's how they do it. We are just packing them in, the trails and the hunters. The next section is the White Clay Creek Preserve on the Pennsylvania side. Sorry, I didn't get a map of it. But it's 3,200 acres, and they only open 1,800 of that for hunting. I think the game warden's here. He can correct me if I'm wrong. No shotgun in London Britain section. That's the largest part of the Pennsylvania side in the old White Clay Creek State Park. And then down in the new section, Elk Creek section or whatever it's called, the Spring Lawn Trail is closed during shotgun season. They're not mixing hikers and shotgun like we do. Yeah. The next one, Ridley Creek State Park. I can't read it here. 2,200 acres, only 1,200 allowed for hunting, and that's archery hunting. And then when they allow gun hunting, they do a 2-day. The whole park is closed. You can see the game warden closing the road there in the picture, and they have a 2-day gun hunt. Nobody else in the park. So I'm just showing you some of the other, and that's 1,200 acres hunted out of 2,200. So they're not allowing hunting everywhere like we do. So now I want to talk about our utilization. We only got 9 deer this year, right? So I know John made some great comments about we have deer problem in Chester County. Everybody agrees with that. No one's going to argue that. We've got a deer problem, right? We got 9 deer last year, over 200 acres for 4.5 months. So I said, why is that happening? So I went onto the calendar here, the FSA calendar linked through the Franklin Township site. And in Banffshire, you can see we have 6 zones. And I figured you can hunt a morning hunt or an afternoon hunt. That's typically, I heard Jim say that in the last meeting, what guys do. They hunt morning or evening, which makes sense. That's when the deer are active. So I said, that's an opportunity to hunt. So if there's one zone, you can hunt 2 opportunities a day. That's 12 opportunities a day for the park. And if you look, these numbers, this is a 2, a 4, this is how many people hunted. The blue line is 12 opportunities a day for the 4.5 months. Here's one person, one person, one person, one person. We got a peak of 3 people on the opening day of gun season. So we're not using our time in the woods. So we have the park closed. I shouldn't say that. We have the park where people don't want to go in. They're discouraged from using the park from September 15th or September 17th through November, and there's only 1 hunter. Like, that's not making sense. So maybe we should, like Dave said, not open it for so long if it's not going to be utilized. Here are all, this is the second graph, all 4 preserves together. So there's 32 opportunities to hunt every day. That's 16 spaces twice a day, all the preserves. And here you can see the maximum we ever had was 7 people in the woods, and that's on opening gun season day. Clearly, you know, I've heard comments in our pro meeting from some of the hunters that it's too warm in the fall, it's hot, they don't want to do bow or archery. So gun season is clearly where we're getting activity. This is a picture of the calendar off the Sierra Point site, if you don't believe me. So my idea, this is all the preserves, including the weekends. On the other graph, I took out the weekends, but you can see the flat bars are even longer here, but I'm going to pass through that because I don't have any time. All right, so to sum up my points is we're hunting 200 acres, which is 2% of the land area. So that's 200 out of 8,400. So we agree we have a deer problem, but are we going to solve it on the 2% of the preserves? No other neighboring township allows hunting in their parks, in township-owned parks. I know there's other preserves in the state parks. I'm not talking about that. We permit the same group each year, 25% of which are not Franklin Township taxpayers, which we just heard from Mr. Zwada there. Hunting privileges are not being utilized. That's what I said. We're hunting 2% out of the 32 opportunities a day. Only 2 to 4% are being used over the 4.5 month season. I did that study again a few years ago, and it was 4%, 2% this year. So that's where I get the 2 and 4%. I can't do it for every year. I don't have data for every year. Hunting is concentrated in November and December. 9 killed this year. I have an average of 13 per year, but I don't have tallies from every year, but that's all the years I could find. And that sounds about right to me. I think our peak ever was 20. Other residents are discouraged from using the preserves. I think this is a point that's misunderstood. I know all the hunters right here are giving me the evil eye and they think I'm wrong on this, but you got to ask the other people in the room. When a hunter's in the woods, they don't feel comfortable going in the woods. They don't feel comfortable bringing their children, riding their horses, especially their dogs, especially like mine's a tan color, right? That's the problem. The hunters say they're the guy in the woods. They feel comfortable because they're not scared of themselves or their buddies. But the rest of the people that don't know that hunter, they're nervous. They don't know who it is. They don't even know where he is. So that, I think, is the rub between the two groups. The hunters think, hey, I'm in here not hurting anybody. And you're not. You have a great safety record. But the other people are discouraged from going in the woods. Okay. Trail use is at an all-time high. And the more people we have on the trails, the more we push the deer out. Maybe the reason we only get 9 a year is because there's not that many deer in the preserves, right? If they were thick in there, like everyone's saying, wouldn't we get more deer killed each year? Wouldn't that be what's happening? So Franklin Township preserves are surrounded by properties that which allow hunting. Now, I don't have time to pull up the map, but if you think about Banffshire to the east is the Keene property and the Stonegate properties, which are hunted. To the north is the Pearson property, and to the west is the Hocking property, all heavily hunted. And I don't want any deer in the farmers' fields. Like the Hockings got to hunt their fields because, as John said, their crops get damaged, right? But if we're in the woods pushing the deer out of their safe space into the hunted farms, that's when we can knock the deer out. So, Franklin Township and Elk Townships together added the Strawbridge properties. That's 1,700 acres of added public hunting. We just added a few years ago. So that's a lot of extra places you guys can hunt.
You're into your last minutes.
My suggestion is that due to our lack of utilization, I'd make the recommendation instead of the suggestions that Dave just said, that because we're not getting the results calling the deer, and that the private group has priority over the other residents, that I propose that we follow Goddard Park's example and prohibit hunting in our preserves. And then later, after a year or 2 years, if we really see a lot of deer damage, well, then let's close the park for 2 days, just like I mentioned those other ones do, and get a lot of guns in there and wipe them out. Then we will cull the herd. And if that's not working, then let's close it for 6 weeks. Or not close it, but allow gun season for 6 weeks while the park's open to the public. Like we're doing now, but for just 6 weeks. I don't like that option, but it gives more hunting time. All right, the last one I want to make is, we just heard that hunting is very nice to be close. I appreciate all the hours you guys put in.
Mr. Chairman, we're now past the 11 minutes. Would you?
I need 30 seconds.
Would you permit Mr.
I appreciate.
Initial 30 seconds?
30 seconds.
I appreciate all the volunteer hours you guys do. It's great. You know, I know that you guys pick up a lot of trash. You do some work for Jeff painting equipment. We also at the Pro Committee do a lot of volunteer hours. Our tree plantings alone, each of the 3 have as many hours as you guys did in a year. I don't want to be competing with you. We all have been getting along. Bob especially, he's great at managing the crew. I don't want to make this a hardship, but we're doing it for the benefit of the people. I feel like you guys are doing it so that you feel like you've earned the right to hunt, or that you're entitled to hunt. And that's not the way it should be. Now, the value of hunting, I had a group come in a few years ago, I don't remember the date, 2013, and they're a hunt management company. They're national, 21 states. It's a big company. They valued our 3 preserves, not the 4, 3 preserves. Good one was too small. It's $7,700. That's the value. And for that reason,
keep interrupting, but we're now into an extra minute.
I think that's the reason we should restrict and ask Mr. Johnson to recuse himself from this vote, because it's a material gain for his company, for his group. All right, thank you. Well, let's open it up to others here. Just if you have somebody come up to the mic.
Okay. Are we ready for the next person to speak?
We have some, we're gonna try and.
I'll be quick.
We're gonna get you next. We have someone at the podium in the room.
Dave, can I speak?
We have someone at the podium now. Can you wait one more minute while?
Okay.
I-
Okay, tell me when it's my turn. Thank you.
I will. Well, you're next.
Thank you.
My name is Julie Engels. I'm a resident on Queen Lane, Franklin Township, and I want to thank everyone for their comments thus far. And I want to say I'm also a hunter. I just hunt with binoculars instead of a bow or firearm. The Bamshires Preserve is a haven and escape and a literal breath of fresh air, and a major reason my husband and I bought our first home in Franklin Township in that location. The freedom to regularly engage with nature is a really important thing to me as well as others. It's important for fitness, well-being, and that is why we decide to support both financially, but as well as with sweat equity in these volunteer projects, the Bamshires and other preserves in the township. So I would ask that we continue to share this preserve, and that shutting it down to people accessing areas for that November 1 through December 15th is quite a long time in a prime season of where I'm out there, every chance I can get when I'm not working. So please do not limit the access of non-hunters and residents who really enjoy the park equally as you do. That's it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Can I just make a comment? I hope this, so we're not shutting, the proposals were never to shut the preserves down. I just want to make sure that that's clear. So,
Yeah, sorry,
okay.
restrict.
Right, okay, yeah.
Thank you.
Okay, Mary?
Okay, I think I'll just be 2 minutes. I wrote it down. I'm going to read it. Considering the varying opinions on hunting in the township, I'd like to suggest that the Board of Supervisors consider a referendum for the November ballot. Since the residents have and currently pay for the preserves and the parks, what they want should be the direction for Franklin Township. Maybe PSATs or you guys could be able to help word the referendum so the sportsman club can express their reason for the extended hunting time and place. The deer population does need to be managed. We all know this. Since the goal, as stated on the sportsman's website, is a quote, managed, highly regulated deer hunt that aims for a deer population level that will allow for our environment to be healthy and to strike an acceptable balance between people and deer, close quotes. We should also consider proven effective alternatives. And alternatives to hunting to control deer are PZP, porcine zona pellucida. It's an immunocontraception vaccine, prevents fertilization for up to 3 years. It's a natural protein, does not harm the mammal, can be injected by dart guns. Maybe that's a new sport we could have. The Humane Society of the United States has done a 20-year studies on 3 different places: Fire Island, New York, Fripp Island, South Carolina, National Institute of Standards and Technology in Maryland. In Fripp Island, South Carolina, there was a 60% decrease in the deer population in 5 years. Residents were happy with the results. The 60% decrease in collisions and remaining deer population were healthier. Now, another item that we always blame the deer for ruining our environment, but are they responsible for biodiversity loss and forest growth failures? We have not considered acid rain, insect damage, disease, pollutants, loss of soil fertility, invasive plants, climate and weather change, overdevelopment, and then of course the deer are also have responsible. But the conclusion is single species management is not a viable way to manage a multifaceted problem. The deer are a problem. There are other ways to manage this. Do we want to cull the herd, or do we want a private sportsman club that like to hunt in their backyard? I don't really have a problem with that, but that can't be our focus. And I believe we need to concentrate on the entire population in Franklin Township and what do they want, and put the vote out to them and do what they tell us to do. Thank you.
Right. Thank you, Mary. I appreciate those comments. We got some raised hands on the Zoom call that have been raised for a while. Can't read them because I don't have my glasses on. Walter Johnson, would you like to make a comment?
Yeah, I'd love to. Can you hear me okay?
I can hear you just fine.
All right. So hi, I'm Walter Johnson. I'm a township resident. My daughter, wife, and I frequent the playground in Crossan Park. I've hiked all the trails there and in Banffshire. Rode my mountain bike on them. Last fall, we attended many soccer games to watch our daughter's friend Millie play in the park. And I've done a lot of volunteer work in the park. I've done movie night parking, trail clearing, vine cutting. I helped install grills. We removed graffiti from a pavilion, weeded the healing garden, and I put a lot of hours on that red mini library in the healing garden. Through the FSA, when my schedule allows it, and I will say, it doesn't always allow it, I really love to be in the township woods archery hunting. And that season for me starts in September and runs through November. For me, I really like to hunt in October. I'm really proud of our township for having such great parks. And, I'm happy that everyone gets to use them. I'd really like to continue to use all the parks in all the ways I've described. And from my own experience, I think it can be done safely and so that everyone can continue to use them. Thanks.
Thank you, Walter. And then right next to you is Anthony. You have your hand raised.
Yes, thank you very much. Just thank you very much for taking my comment today. I'll be very quick. My name is Anthony Bernard Zakowski. I grew up in Franklin Township, and aside from some stints away for college, I've lived here my entire life. I'm joining you tonight virtually to voice my opposition to the proposed expansions of the deer management program that are on the agenda tonight. I want to be clear, I support deer hunting. It's necessary to cull the herd, prevent the spread of Lyme, cut down on traffic accidents, and ensure the long-term stability of the deer population itself. I know this firsthand because I worked on this issue a fair bit for the state government in Delaware, where restrictions on hunting in the first state national park there actually caused a big problem for nearby residents and farmers. Fortunately, we're lucky to live in a semi-rural area with a ton of preserved open space, and the FSA has done a lot of good in those areas through their volunteer work, and I absolutely applaud them for it. The changes being proposed today, though, are completely unnecessary. There is no good reason to open up any additional small areas to hunting when there are ample opportunities for it across the township, particularly in the massive Big Elk Creek State Park that spans thousands of acres. The risk of harms to persons or property in the surrounding area, as small as it may be, far outweighs any potential benefit that might come from opening it to hunting. Because of the good work that FSA has done in the past, I was pretty shocked when I saw a post on the Landberg Facebook group by Mr. Jim German, I'm sorry if I'm pronouncing it wrong, where I understood him to suggest that the FSA and it alone was entitled to restricted usage of Crossan and other parks in the township for hunting because of the volunteer hours that their organization had put in. He also suggested that the person shedding light on that proposal was somehow a quote unquote puppet because he resides outside of the township, which I think is frankly a ludicrous claim to make. Plenty of members of the FSA are residents of other townships and even other states, and I would not think it appropriate to accuse them of being puppets either. I would ask anyone in the public sphere to leave the name calling to the schoolyard children and the cable news pundits. I think as residents of the township, we should be clear about all of this rhetoric. It's wrong. I certainly hope that Jim's views are not the official stance of the FSA on the issue because it would reflect poorly on them as well. The other thing to consider is that other organizations have devoted countless hours of volunteer work to the township as well, but they have never demanded a reward in the form of exclusive access to our public parks and preserves. They belong to us, not to anybody else, not to one group. Unfortunately, it seems important to state that for the record. Suffice to say, the proposed changes today are a bad idea, and aside from one very small group of people, I believe most township residents feel the same way. Thank you very much to the board for your time, and I'll turn it over to the next person.
I'm sorry, I don't see any other raised hands online, so we'll just go to the room. Is there anyone who has a comment? Come on up. Just state your name, whether or not you're a township resident or taxpayer in the township, et cetera, et cetera.
On the state game.
Yeah, I'll restart. My name is Zach Salzgiver. I'm the state game warden that covers southern Chester County. I'm not a township resident, but I am in charge of the entire southern half of Chester County as a representative of the Game Commission, who's been effectively managing wildlife populations since 1895. So as far as the seasons things, I just wanted to lay out some scientific stuff as far as why we manage things the way that we do. When we set our biologists, our deer biologists, are the ones who set the seasons and bag limits. They do not just come up with those for no reason. They're for very specific reasons to address our population dynamics. When deer populations get too high, somebody said earlier about managing for one species. Deer don't affect one species. When they become overpopulated, they create what's called a browse line. And everything under that line, when there's too many of them, suffers. So the squirrels, the groundhogs, everything underneath them of that browse line starves. Disease spreads, and those are just the facts of population dynamics. When there's too many deer, everybody suffers. So any limiting factors of that would be against the science that the Game Commission use. Our biologists who train their entire lives and dedicate their lives to the wildlife management, which we're lucky in Pennsylvania, we have one of the best wildlife populations in the country. There was a time we had to bring deer in from other states. We don't have to do that anymore. We're lucky. A couple of other things, the Ridley Creek hunt specifically was brought up. I've had the misfortune of having to work that hunt before. That's a state park. It is managed specifically because of its close relationship to Philadelphia and the amount of people that are there. It is open to archery most of the park for most of the season. That 2-day hunt I felt pretty unsafe in the woods. They pile hunters in there and they slingshot, and it is an unsafe. And I think if you ask anybody who manages that park's deer population, specifically the DCNR foresters, I think they would tell you that is not being effectively managed from how many deer are actually taken. They'd like more deer to be taken, but they're limited because of their environment and the safety, because we do have safety zones and they go by our regulations as far as safety. 50-yard safety zones for archery, 150 for anything else. When it comes to firearms, they don't have the option of expanding it because there's so many houses and other developments in and around that area. I would warn that that's one, there are special permits that they get from us and approval for those 2-day hunts, which is not a guarantee that would be, pushed through. That has to be approved by me at the end of the day. Archery is safe and effective. That's the season you guys are talking about. I've never in my career heard of anybody being shot with a bow and arrow in mistake for game or wildlife. We do have hunting related shooting incidents, but I've never had somebody who was out archery hunting shoot somebody in mistake of game or wildlife.
Warden, you're outside of your 3 minutes. Mr. Chairman, is he permitted to continue?
I have one more thing that I would like to specifically speak to because it was brought up. I think more
I appreciate that, Warden. Is that all right?
I'm sorry, my mic was off. Yes, please continue.
Thank you. I understand that there's may not be activity. People have full-time jobs getting out in the woods, to meet those 32 open slots. Everybody has their lives outside, maybe opening it to more people, still keeping the slots the same, would increase the amount of deer that are taken. Because I would say that more deer need to be taken. I drive around this place all the time. I see what the deer populations in the forest look like, which we are trained to evaluate. As for the vaccine thing that was brought up, it is unlawful. Any attempts to do that would be met with, legal ramifications. Our state veterinary, who works for the Pennsylvania Game Commission, who manages all the vet side of our agency, actually worked on that Long Island study. He worked with that program, actually darting the deer. A lot goes into that. A lot of money goes into that. And I would call into question the source of that study. The Humane Society is an animal rights group that is anti-hunting, which gives a clear bias to the numbers that they would put out in reference to that study. We effectively manage wildlife. It's part of the North American model of wildlife of conservation was built off of hunters and trappers who care and do what needs to be done to manage and, make sure that our wildlife populations are here for your guys' grandchildren, everybody else. But anybody has any questions, I'll be here the rest of the night.
All right, thank you. Appreciate your comments. Sure.
Hey, I had a whole list of prepared, but Mr. Overton, there's a couple points I'd like to point out to you. My name's Paul Smiley. I'm from New London. I'm a member of the FSA. My wife is here with me. Our 3 kids have been coming to Crossan Park since they're little kids and played every kind of sport there and sustained some injuries there as well. And I'm here to tell you that the members of FSA that I've been with for almost 10 years are among the most competent, honorable, safe people that I know. And if they weren't, I wouldn't be a part of it. I have to tell you 100%, I don't know if I speak for the whole group, but for myself, I am not interested or would support the mass murder of deer in a short period of time. I don't think it's humane, and it goes against all the hunter training that we've had, which really speaks to the fair chase that the animal has to get away. And the idea that you would want to load up this park for a couple days or a couple weeks and send people in to murder dozens of deer is not something that's appealing to me. And for the folks that are here that may be against hunting in the park, I would think you'd probably be against that kind of mass murder, stack them up kind of a situation from there. Also, I was confused because there was kind of a dichotomy in your comments. In one hand, you were saying we weren't hunting enough, and another, you're saying why do we have such a long time? I'm a healthcare administrator, and for the last 3 years, I've been working 10-hour days for COVID. And so getting out to hunt has not been something that I'm able to do. And when I go, it's very relaxing and enjoying, not even so much to harvest an animal, but to, just like many of you, to be in the woods and decompress and get some tree therapy. If I could do it every day, I would. I will strongly, strongly suggest to you not to change the times, the dates that you can hunt, because I assure you, members of the FSA have scooted other hunters, not appealing hunters, out of those parcels on a regular basis. And if the FSA is not there to kind of take that spot, you don't know who's coming in and what kind of tools they're hunting with. We are hunting with highly proficient, highly ethical men and sometimes women hunting with qualified weapons that we've all qualified with. So the idea that you would close that window of period off and force those hunters away, you're just going to see some rogue people coming in there that are scary. And that's my thoughts for today. Lastly, we've worked with the pro on a number of issues, many issues. And just like Mr. Overton says that he's not against hunters or firearms or anything like that. We're not against anybody here. We don't want anything more than anybody else. We have a limited time. This is the only group that's limited as to when they can do their sport in your parks. Mountain bikes, soccer, and everything else can go whenever they want. So that's my thoughts. Thank you.
Thank you. I appreciate your comments. Do we have any other public comment in the room?
Good evening. My name is Bill Scalish, and I was a former supervisor on Franklin Township. Question or a statement. The following few are definitions from the Merriam-Webster Dictionary on preserves. The definition of preserve is to keep safe from injury, harm, or destruction. To keep alive, intact, or free from decay. An area restricted for the protection and preservation of natural resources such as animals and plants. So allowing hunting, does that meet that final definition? Animals and plants protection? I don't think so. Our preserve are publicly owned by the taxpayers of Franklin Township. A group of 35 members of the Sportsman Association, some of which are not township residents, cannot be allowed to dictate who and when non-members and their exclusive club utilize the township-owned preserve safely. If you had to decide tonight, board, which one would you select? Protecting the life and safety of the individuals and within the preserves, or allowing a small group of hunters jeopardize individual life and safety? For 9 deer last year. Which brings me to another point. If someone were injured or killed as a result of a club member's action, who would ultimately be responsible for the litigation? And as a board member, are you willing to accept that responsibility? Considering closing some trails during the hunting season or opening additional areas is profound and unacceptable to our residents. My primary goal as a previous supervisor were life and safety and well-being of Franklin residents and to preserve the natural resources and the quality of life we still continue today. In addition, the open space and preserves and in the preservation also reduces school taxes, stormwater, and additional infrastructure. Fall is one of the most beautiful seasons of the year for our residents. Should we have been concerned about the families and safety to take in the natural beauty? And I agree with Mary McVeigh. We need to have this on the ballot this coming fall. Let the township residents speak their piece. If they want hunting in the park, so be it. This is a limited number of people who have the authority to do it, and it's not right. Most of the people I talk to when I walk the preserve, Banshire in particular, are against hunting in the preserve. They don't voice their opinion. And last but not least, I agree with Paul Overton that Supervisor Johnson needs to recluse himself from voting since he's a participant of the sportsman club. Thank you.
All right, thank you.
Hi, it's Mark again. I just wanted to just a couple things.
Right now, you're next.
We've never demanded exclusive use. We proposed the closure of the trail, of the two crossover trails, thinking that the people could still use the park, the outer perimeter, and we were disappointed with our deer kill in Banshire. It's been very challenging. There's people that walk every night with their dogs off lead. I purposely did not shoot at 2 deer because the dog was nearby 100 yards, 80 yards from the person. It just wasn't a good situation. I know one other hunter had the same incident. So that's all. We weren't trying for exclusive right. Number 2, we've killed 12 deer, not 9. The closing November 1st is a terrible idea. You have some serious hunters like myself who's retired and can get out there and harvest some deer. And I harvested 5 off the preserves this year. If you tell me I can't hunt there till November 1st, I have 4 5C. I get 4 5C doe tags that I buy, and that's all I can get because I have a cabin and I use tags there. I will hunt somewhere else before November 1st, and I will use those tags, and we will have less harvests. And there's some other serious hunters that'll do the same. Unfortunately, in life, the active younger people that have kids and jobs, it's very hard, to get out. And we're doing our service projects. Most our members do more service project hours than hunting hours. It's a shame. But Paul mentioned we didn't have a lot of use of it. The last 2 years have been extremely hot in the fall, and most hunters don't want to hunt then. But the main point I want to make with the archery, you're closing it from the 15th to the 1st. That is archery. There is statistically zero, you're going to get shot by an archer. It doesn't happen. There's 361,000 archers in the state of Pennsylvania. They hunt millions of hours. Unlike what Paul said, they hunt in barrows. There's clubs like ours, hundreds of them. There have been 0 incidents, 0, where an archer shoots somebody or their dog by mistake. It doesn't happen. They are all self-inflicted. There have been fatalities because with crossbows, they can go off, but they've all been self-inflicted. So those are the facts. So someone who's not going to use these parks, which I think is ridiculous because we talk about all the usage. And if you sit in there, you'll see how much they're used during hunting season. I don't think people aren't using them because we're there. But if you take the usage in there, I'm afraid to take my kid in there because there's hunters, but you're going to accept mountain bikers, horses, and dogs off lead, which is the epidemic we really need to address at some point. It's not logical. It's not an issue. We've done it for 12 years with no issues. The whole state of Pennsylvania with tens of millions of hours does it every year with no issues. So it's all emotional on that side. If you look at facts, figures, and the truth, it's an easy discussion. And I see no reason why 25 residents have to be limited.
So that's 3 minutes of rebuttal.
When bikers, the ones who actually are dangerous, don't.
Thank you.
Thanks, Paul.
Bonus points for managing the microphone.
My name's Tony Lauria. I'm a resident along with my wife for 47 years. I have nothing against hunting. That's not the issue, and I think it's drifted. The issue for me is the closing of various trails in the parks. We use the park, we use Creek Road, we volunteer. I'm up and down Creek Road probably more than anybody here, and always picking up beer cans. Certain people have a preference to crush the cans flat down, others break them in half. I mean, after a while, you know who did what. All right. So volunteering is not a problem for us or other people. It's just the fact that when hunting season starts, we don't go all the way down Creek Road, the dirt road, because we don't know who's out there and what they're shooting or who they're going to shoot at. Also with the trail, same thing happens in there. It's a inhibition. You don't want to go out there and you start thinking, you know, they're out there hunting. That's what they are allowed to do. Let them do that. Why do I want to put myself at risk? Or the unfortunate person that happens to shoot another individual. And I'm aware of that in my own family with hunting accidents and stuff. So it's a real fear. And it's an important thing to keep in mind. Again, I'm not against hunting. There are a lot of deer. I don't think that the number of people walking through the trails are actually scaring the deer away. I think the number of hunters that are not there is a problem with culling the herd. That's just my opinion. Again, what's bothering me is the fact that closed trails close off the residents. Nothing against hunting or people that are hunting. You should do something about the beer can throwers, but leave it at that. But thank you.
Thank you. Appreciate your comments. We have somebody online with their hand raised, and then we have two more in the room. Did you have something you wanted to say?
I just people understand the trails, what's going on with the trails. I just want to make sure that it's not, the trail isn't closed. It's a segment of it is, did we show the picture? I don't know if we did for the trail. I just want to make sure I mean, you're welcome to your opinion. Everyone's welcome to their opinion, but I just don't know if they understand that it's like there's a big loop. A part of the loop, but there's still of a trail, but there's still other trails around.
It's not
a judgment call.
It's not in our meeting book.
Right. Yeah. Can we get it? Is it up? Are we able to show?
Yeah. So we can have Jeff work on that.
Yeah,
And in the meantime, we have some comments. So Jeff, Josh online with your hand raised. Would you like to make a comment?
Yes, I would. Hello, my name is Josh. I live next to Banffshire. We are residents here, avid dog walkers, hikers, god-awful mountain bikers, and general trail users. We are definitely against we weren't aware there was hunting in Banffshire. It's an extremely small park. And as he said, he felt unsafe to take shots when there was people nearby, which should be, because it's just not a good spot to do it. It's not a large park as the other parks were compared. Thousands of acres versus 60. You're pulling 9 deer out of a very small area. You can pull bigger deer out, more numbers out of better parks. And there's hunting all around here. And it's just, the park is not the place for it. Not that size, not that tightly packed with the trails. And especially if it is, you can't have it open to the public and hunting at the same time. It's just not big enough, and it's not safe enough to do it. So that's about all I have to say about that.
All right. Thank you, Josh. I appreciate your comments. So we have 2 in the room, 3 in the room, and then 4. So we will get to everybody. Would you like to go since you're right there, and then we'll just go right through?
Thank you. My name is Betsy Odgers, and I am a resident of Franklin Township. My thing after listening and thinking about this is numbers. There's 25 men or people who want to hunt, and there's thousands of people who use the property. I don't see where the issue comes in that the 25 people get precedence over what they already have the preserve to use. and to utilize and to hunt in. I have nothing against hunting, but I don't understand why you need to expand where you can hunt. For me, it's a numbers thing. And I totally believe that you should recuse yourself as you're a member of the board and you're on the hunting club. And that's it.
All right, thank you. We'll just go right across here. I think there was another one, so you'll next and then yeah, okay.
My name is Rick Trial. I am not a member of Franklin Township, though my grandparents have lived in Franklin Township for over 50 years, and my parents have lived in the township for 50 years. So I have a long lineage of vested history here. I will tell you that I've been.
Yeah, that may be the case, sir, but if you're not a township.
I announced that I was not a township resident. I'm just giving lineage, so thank you.
No, that's okay, and I respect that. But public comment is for township residents or taxpayers. So if you're neither, I would.
I'm sorry, you've provided open comment to non-township residents here already.
I think it just means that their comments won't be reflected in the minutes.
That's fine. You don't have to reflect in the minutes, but we've had other non-township people up here talking.
It's
as well.
okay.
So from a fact base, I had the privilege to volunteer for Fair Hill for 15 years during their special hunt, 2-day hunt. It took over 125 volunteers to achieve that on that property. They have disbanded that program because it is not effective. They've moved directly to an archery program specifically in zones. It has proven more effective. Secondly, hunting, it's a sport. It's a hobby, just like mountain biking or anything else. When we look at this, we have FSA, which is not a private club, open to other township residents. We carry an umbrella policy. If something were to happen, which was asked earlier, our umbrella policy would cover us for this. When you look at someone going mountain biking, township, you bear the onus of this. Someone falls, breaks their neck, kills themselves, onus of the township. So my point being, hunting is going to be safer with people that you know. Oh, and if you close the park down, guess what? Somebody else is going to creep in. When we started this program, we tore down a number of tree stands. We have eradicated a number of trespassers on the property. So though you may feel safe because we're not hunting, it's a false narrative because there's going to be somebody else in the woods that will move in from either the hocking farm or another piece of the property and encroach on the property. And if you think I'm doubting, please talk back to Zach, and he will talk about the number of trespassing violations he deals with on an annual basis. Our name and list address, hunting ID, photocopies of my driver's license plates are all provided to the township. Open forum for us to meet us, talk to us. I'm not hiding. I would love to meet with you. We also police Creek Road. You probably pick up the same beer cans that we're picking up. We want a partnership with the township. That is our goal. We love the property. I have a rooted foundation here, and I care for the properties in the same way you guys do. We all have a common goal. We want to use them. It's the balance act, guys. So thank you for your time.
Can we just talk about the trail just for a second?
Thank you. Yeah. So before we go to the next public comment, up on the screen, you're going to see what we were talking about with Banffshire Park, or excuse me, Banffshire Preserve. There's a number of loops: red, yellow, green, blue, orange. And what the motion is asking for is the cross trails. So going from left to right, the green portion that's going left to right would be closed. And then right below it, the yellow portion from the blue line to the, if you're going to go to the left, right, there would be, those two portions would be closed to open up the larger portion for bow hunters. So you would still have the red trail and the blue trail intact, with only those two small cross portions being closed. So we're not, the motion does not suggest the closing completely of Banffshire, just those two cross trails. So just for, but in Banffshire's bow and gun, bow shotgun specifically, bow and shotgun.
I just wanted to be clear on it, just so everyone knew what we were
Yeah,
talking.
just so we're clear. That's fine. All right. So next public comment. And we'll just go right down. I think we got one more after you.
Well, my name is John Dennison. Got it? My mic for me? I'm a resident of Franklin Township. I live across the street from Crossings Park over in Thompson Estates. I moved from Delaware County about 5 years ago. So my spot to hunt was Ridley State Creek, and I would have more people, I had more hunters walk onto me in archery than I've ever had anybody walk on the trails on me over Franklin Preserve. I've never had an incident walking over there. And the whole story being told of a private club, I moved here actually 5 years ago this month. I didn't know anything about the club. I didn't know anything about hunting over there. And I reached out to the township building. I talked to someone, they point me to the website. I think I got a phone call within 2 days. I applied to get in the club. I was in the club for the next season. There's no waiting list. I don't understand how we're considered private. The same thing that would be before that, I had my hunter safety class to get my license, but when I joined the club, I had to do something I didn't have. I had to take my bow hunter safety course. So we're very safe over there. I mean, I'm not could never imagine myself seeing a brown dog and shooting a light brown dog or aiming my bow at a person. The rhetoric I hear out here, just you don't know what you don't know. So like we said, we have open meetings on Thursdays. Come talk to us. My daughters play travel soccer. So my time to hunt is after work. I get home at 3 o'clock to 8 o'clock at night till we set the clocks back, and then I'm done till the weekends. And if the weekends come, Saturday and Sundays, I might have to have an opportunity. I could be out in Lancaster all weekend with soccer games. So that early season's important for me, and especially as a spot where it's my neighborhood. I live there, so that's all I have to say.
Thank you. And I think you were next.
Hi, everyone. I'm Adeline Overton. I've been a Franklin Township resident my whole 16 years of my life. I walk my dog Sadie on all of the trails. I love to walk these trails weekly because they keep me healthy and are just down the street from my house, so I can just walk right over. I don't feel safe during hunting season in the fall or the winter with my dog because the hunters think they're being safe, but to me, they're just like a random man with a gun in the woods. So it's pretty creepy. In the trails, I've maybe seen 3 deer, but in the neighboring field to the Hampshire Preserve, the Hawking Field, I've seen herds like every time I go up there. So go hunt elsewhere, but let the public trails stay public and move your private organization elsewhere. You're not getting any deer in the preserves because it's for hiking, not for hunting. Move to the fields, and how are you going to enforce the trail closure? That's all. Goodbye.
Okay, thank you. Appreciate your comments. Do we have any?
My name's Rich Ryle. I'm the old man that's been here for 65 years over on Walker Road. I've been a hunter trapper education instructor and bow hunter instructor for the last 30 years. I've worked with the Game Commission. I've got thousands of hours every year. I am a member of the FSA. I stay a member of the FSA because the guys are a bunch of safe guys and they all enjoy hunting. I have been a member of FSA since it started. I haven't shot a deer for 3 years. I haven't hunted in Banashire or Franklin for the last 5 years. I just enjoy getting out. Second, couple facts I'd like to get straight. How many guys hunt Dave Hawking's farm? One. He's my brother-in-law. Second.
Wait, that's not true.
Yes, it is. He is my brother-in-law. I do know.
No, I know for a fact there's more than one hunter.
No, there's not. How many
Yeah.
guys hunt?
Chris Hawking hunted.
Chris Hawking's the only one. Dave, there's
There's plenty.
his
No,
kids don't
that's not
hunt.
true.
All right. No.
Dave, okay. How many guys hunt the property on the other side of Banashire that was what was he? Yates, the Yetmans, what is it? Keene property. I talked to the guy about 2 weeks ago. There's 4 guys. That's it. He doesn't allow anybody else to hunt the place. Okay, each one of them get to bring a guest in, but that's all that's there. If we lose these guys that hunt, Won't have any other place to hunt because most of the places don't hunt because their fathers or somebody else. The winery has thousands of acres, 100 acres or so over there, okay? They all have family. That's all that they allow us to hunt. They will not allow us to go over there and hunt. Okay? Second of all, most of you've all been talking about safety. Well, I'm a hunter education instructor. I get the sacks every year. But I'm going to turn it over to Zach. How many hunting incidents a year do we get out of over 1 million hunters every year taking a license? Zach, last year, how many was it?
I do not know the specific number off the top of my head. It's usually a handful.
Less than 25. It's usually less than 25.
Usually about, 5 or 6, usually less than 10, and they're usually a lot of times in bird hunting, because you're swing shooting, which isn't, I'm talking about like, pheasant, stuff like that. That's where we see our hunting related shooting incidents, because people are swing shooting on birds and stuff like that, which isn't top for discussion here, because it's deer hunting only. The ones that we do here, pet deer hunting with firearm related, it's usually line of sight, hundreds of yards away. So, yeah.
Okay. So if you're worried about
So,
walking.
Mr. Chairman, that's 3 minutes.
Okay, I'm sorry. If you're worried about what safety out in the woods, we're talking over 1 million people. You get more problems with sports anywhere else but hunting.
Thank you for your comments. Do we have any more? Any other public comment before we go to Bob?
No, we're done, right?
I think so, unless there's another public comment.
Bob's done. I just want to jump over to YouTube to see if anybody's posted any questions there.
Sure.
Unlikely, but I didn't.
Sure. Okay, Bob.
Okay, I'm you on here.
You're on.
All right, so as Paul introduced me earlier, I'm Bob Magnus. I am FSA and I am Parks and Recs. There has been a lot of keywords used here. For one, 9 deer. Let me correct that. You asked me the question in our meeting last week. I didn't have the facts in front of me and I should have said that. And I guessed at it and said 9 or 10. You picked up on 9 and then all of a sudden everybody's hollering 9. It was 12. Another keyword is private club. We are not private, as everybody else has said here tonight. We're not. Everybody's welcome to come and see us. Come and meet us. Find out who we are. Ask us our names. That's all. It's that simple and easy. Another keyword that keeps coming up is this 5.5 month thing. We are not in there 5.5 months. Okay, 4.5. But the other night we started with 5.5 and then we cut it to 4.5. Okay. So, and this is nothing, this is just straight business here. We're not in there 24/7. We were never asked to be in there 24/7. We go in and we hunt. This is not about slaughtering the deer herd. This is not about sending them into extinction. It's about controlling the herd. So whether we take 12 or 15 and we leave 8 or 9 or 10 or 11 still there, that's fine. We're not going to wipe this herd out. We never came in to do that. We came in to just keep it cleaned up. Otherwise, it gets crazy. I mean, there's a lot of accomplishments that our guys have done, and they've heard you echo them. You know, we've listened to them all night long. You know, we built your boxes. She's smiling away. She's happy. Your playground's getting taken care of. Okay. These trails are clean. Parks and Recs, before I came, there was one person, I'm not going to mention names, but if the shoe fits, wear it, was more than happy last year when we went into the healing gardens. Please, can you get them cleaned up, get them weeded and everything else in order to plant? We did that. It was ready to go. It was changed. We're not going to plant now. We're going to wait till the springtime. Well, now in the springtime, we need to go back in again. And this time we add mulch when we're all done. That was a huge mess in that place. We took care of it. This past week, I see this person echoing things about how we brag about what we do. I never really bragged about anything we did. I might brag about my guys, how good they are, right? But I just found it very offensive, this person, Last year, we were the greatest thing since sliced bread. This year, we're nothing. So it's just, the bickering back and forth has to stop. We're not hurting people. I sit in that woods. My wife texts me. I live across the street from
Mr. Chairman, that's 3
2 more
minutes.
minutes.
30 seconds.
I live across the street from Banishar. My wife will sit there and text me and say, here comes another one, as I'm sitting on the hill. People keep coming. Last year, it seemed that every time I signed in, it was like the gates were open. Go get them. Somebody's in there hunting. Just walk around, scream, holler, pick your dogs. That's fine. I don't care. But people are not leaving. Last year, I can honestly say I saw 4 people go up and read the sign and turn around. Everybody else just goes. Right? So anyway, that's my rant. Don't take anything away. We are good people. And come and see us and meet us and understand us.
All right. Thank you, Bob. I appreciate those comments.
Hey, Dave, can I make one like really short rebuttal comment? Really short. I just would like to rebut the person, I don't know, game commissioner, or whatever he was, about the studies from the Humane Society of the United States. And I agree, they are on the opposite side of the fence of hunters, but they do have 3 extensive 20-year studies that we could possibly look into rather than just blow them off that they're wrong. And also, the last comment, we are not against you. We love what you have done for us in our gardens, and we want to work with you, but this is a back and forth dialogue, and it can't be 25 people telling the entire township what they should do. So hopefully the board will put a referendum out there and ask the people, what exactly do you want?
Okay, thank you, Mayor.
Thank you. All right, thanks, Dave.
Hi, I'm Andrea Roberts, and I am a resident of Franklin Township and also chair of the Pro Board. I just want to say, I think nobody is trying to discredit what the FSA does for the community, the preserves, the parks. I think my big question is, what is the rush to pass these proposals, specifically in Crossan Park? I think, they are already hunting Franklin Preserve, which is, directly next to Crossan Park. And if there is, kind of a big question within the community of whether or not this makes sense, I mean, the question is, what is the urgency? That's what I would ask you guys to consider. What is the urgency? This was proposed to, the Pro Board 2 weeks ago. And, we found out that very quickly it was going to try and get, proposed and passed this evening. The question is, what is the urgency?
Thank you for your comments. Any other public comment? Okay. And then I think then we will close it up and start our discussion. All right, one more after this, and then we'll start our board discussion. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Mary Hanley. I am a resident. I am also on the Pro Board, for full disclosure. The thing is, I don't understand what everyone is fighting over. You guys have the right to hunt. You do. You have the right to hunt on the preserves, 4 preserves. Why do you need the park? The park is a park. It is not a preserve. It is a park where children play. They play soccer. They play basketball. They play on a playground. This is throughout the entire park. It's not just the playground that people are playing. I don't understand why you need to take over a park when you have 4 preserves that you are already allowed to hunt in. Thank you.
Thank you for your comment. Okay, we have one more.
My name's Anthony Lewis, and I own property up against Banffshire Preserve. I don't know how many deer they killed out of Banffshire Preserve. Was that 9, 12?
That was
No. Okay, 12 total. But anyway, we talk about, having a preserve and I personally feel like a preserve should be a place where people can go and relax and not take anything from that property. The mountain biker goes in, he mountain bikes, he leaves. The walker goes in, he walks through, he leaves. Everybody gets their exercise, they get to enjoy nature. I don't personally feel like they should see a hunter up in a tree. That's my personal. I own property next to it. I hunt. I don't have anything against hunting. And I know the properties around it. And when they said that there's only one person, I know the people and I know the people that hunt there. So that's not true. I personally don't feel like we should have hunting in the preserve. And this, from what I understand, this is about the only township that allows it. So however that got done with the board that we have and the people that are involved, hey, cahoots to you. But a preserve is a preserve. And I personally feel it should be left that way. I hunt, and when they start hunting in the preserve, I don't have the deer at my property anymore. So I could shoot 9 deer if they didn't run them out, but they run them out into the houses. That's where they go. So the deer,
Who runs them out?
the hunters, you go, so you have deer in a woods and there's trail system. They'll get used to that trail system. They're very adaptable. But as soon as you start going into where they're safe, deer decide to be safe, they're gone. All these properties are hunted around there. Them deer know what being hunted is. So when you go in, they're going out. And that's a small park, truthfully. So, I mean, I understand what they're trying to do. And for a hunting place, yeah, it might be better. But for a small preserve that the people pay for in our township, I don't think that's right. You know, it does come across as a private hunt club. Plus, they're not killing the deer that could be killed. I personally probably could have killed close to that if it wasn't interfered on. But when you push them out into the houses during hunting season, now they know. They're not coming back till it gets dark. That's just how they operate. And our browse line,
Mr. Chairman, that's
not bad.
well past 3 minutes.
Anybody that knows anything
Thank
about
you.
deer browse or deer, our browse line in that area is
Okay.
non-
Thank you, Guy. I appreciate that. So I think that was our last public comment that we're going to entertain. We've been going on for over an hour now. We heard a lot from the township, and I want to say I appreciate everybody coming out here and speaking their mind. This is not an easy conversation to have. This is a very controversial conversation. We usually don't have this many people here every month, and so I like seeing that we're getting this kind of engagement, and so now we're going to transition over to the board's discussion. I'll open it up to anybody, but I think there are a couple of comments that were levied directly at Jim. I'll give him first shot at his discussion, and maybe I'll make a comment and we'll go through the board. Okay, does that sound reasonable?
Sure.
Okay.
Okay. So I'll start out by saying that there's a number of comments that were made about private hunting. Again, you've heard that we're not a private club at the FSA. There's a Thursday meeting every month. Anybody can come to. We welcome anybody every month. There's other comments about, and Paul kind of cherry picked some preserves and other places that are either hunted or not hunted. Jeff Eastburn at the township made inquiries to 57 different townships, 13 in the last 2 weeks. 13 of them replied local to this area. I have the names of the townships and I have all their emails. Out of the 13 replies, 8 of them are affirmative that they allow hunting in their township. 4 of them said no. One of those I know is West Grove Borough that doesn't even have any real properties. So, and then one of them is West Bradford, who's willing to talk to us about hunting in their township. They want it. A lot of these townships enjoy hunting. They enjoy the hunters that come into the township. They coexist with all the members all the residents that and non-residents that walk their sites. There's no problems whatsoever. I'll ask Jeff one question. He's been here the longest. Has there ever been any complaints about hunting coming to the township?
Nothing that I can recall off the top of my head.
So there's never been a complaint called into the township about any hunting here. We already talked about the 9 deer. That's a mistake. We averaged about 15 deer a year. One of the things I'll say is that the hunting has existed here for 12 years. I was here for 11 years in the hunting club. Since I've been in that hunting club, I've been the secretary on the board. This club, trying to think of, hold on a second. I lost my track. With that, in the September to October timeframe, there's 20% of the deer that we kill every year or cull every year are done in the September to October timeframe. So it's not a small amount in that early season. Also, Paul last week in the pro committee said that this was valued at $4,000. Then today he said $7,700. I don't know if that's the inflationary increase or not, but
For lack of memory.
okay. So the other thing you've heard is I heard 25 versus thousands of residents. The thing is, the 25 residents that are on this that are in this FSA are residents of this township as well. They deserve a voice here. They pay for the taxes in those township properties as well. I've heard a lot of it's a very bad idea. There's a lot of risk. For 12 years, there's been no risk. There's no bad idea. I heard a comment that there's scary hunters with guns. There's no scary hunters with guns. That's an opinion of one person. It's probably because it's never been exposed to that person. We're not scary people. We're safe. This is a very safe township. Again, never had an incident with any residents, never had an incident with anybody in the parks. We can coexist like we have been for the last dozen years. Let's see. For the Crossing Park request is requested. Those 3 spots that you saw up on the screen, there aren't any really trails down there at all that you can go on, except the one trail that goes from across the bridge up to the vineyard. There aren't any trails inside of those wooded areas where we'd be going and where the FSA would go. That's why that's why the FSA decided to pull back and not request anything near any of the fields, any of the playground. There was never anything near the playground in the first place, but no one would be anywhere near fields. And I'll say this, that when the FSA started hunting in these parks, there weren't any trails. When the bikers came and requested to have bike trails in Franklin, where there were as a preserve where there were no trails, there was no problem with the FSA. They didn't fight the bikers. They want to coexist with everyone. I don't know why we can't all just coexist together like we have. I think that's basically all I had to say.
Donna, do you have anything? Anything you want me to say, or should I go?
I just have a lot to say. So,
Hey, Jim said a few things right to me. Could I rebut?
I don't think this is a rebuttal thing. I think.
Well, let's just go through our conversation.
Right. So, I just, like you said, this is a very difficult conversation. The thing that kind of hurts me when I hear it is this us versus them. I don't view the township that way. I view us as working together. The pros done a fantastic job with the work they've done in the park. The FSA is, partners with them. I mean, the things that you guys have done together and accomplished in Crossing Park has been amazing. And I think however this tonight goes, I just hope you step back and feel proud about that, because it's been beautiful. And I hope we don't lose that. I just want to remind us, at least from my I can just go by my perspective, how I view this is we have a deer population that's too large. And I look at that as the FSA provides important service, not only volunteer work, but the idea that they are willing to hunt and to help us reduce that deer population, and then to do it in a responsible way. And I do appreciate being out. I love the gardens. I don't do as much work as you do, but I love them as much as you do. And I think to have too many deer, it can hurt us. So we got to try to get the balance right. I think we'll ever get it perfectly right, but I think it's important to look at the FSA as not someone who's our enemy, but someone who's actually providing a good service. We just need to do it in a way that makes everyone comfortable. And as Jim had made a comment, there was a proposal on the table to have a region closer to where I call the body of the park than I personally was comfortable with. And we had a workshop early in the month, and we talked to the FSA about that, saying we're just not. It's just, I know you're safe, but it's just not comfortable. You're too close. You're too close to where kids could be or where people could be, even though they were a long way apart. It just felt too close. And I appreciate the FSA say, okay, fine, we'll pull that back. And then what Jim did, he took us out. Anyone who was willing, you came with us, Andrea, to see where is this area that we want to hunt in Crossing Park. And he took us back to the area. I mean, it's huge. It's right up against where the winery is. And I said, okay, Jim, how many people are going to be here? It's like 100. I said, wait a second. You're telling me this looks like 3 football fields of area. You're telling me 100's here? I goes, yeah, that's the way we divide it. We have the regions, and in that region, there's only 100. So I thought there's going to be a gang of it's like, all on top of each other. And he says, no, there's just 100. So that gave me a lot of comfort that that is, in the park area, that it could be done in a safe manner. So those are just my comments. But if we could just try not to think of it as us versus them, that we are trying to accomplish something that's important. Thank you.
Thank you, Donna. And so I have a hard time speaking off the top of my head and staying lucid. I usually go off road pretty quickly. So I've written down some stuff and try to stay on point here. I don't know if I'm going to make any friends tonight, but hopefully I won't lose any by the end of this. And I also, forgive me if my facts aren't 100% right. I did my best. So about 12 years ago, the board at that time had a supervisor who wanted to start a hunting club in Franklin Township. There was a hard fought battle to get that hunting club off the ground, and it was a politically bloody fight. And after that fight, the FSA was born and hunting was granted. This was not a congenial conversation like we had tonight. I've tried to manage the tit for tat conversations, but this was a pretty congenial conversation. That's not what was going on then. There was permanent damage done, and you could see the ramifications in the conversations that we're having tonight. There are still hurt feelings, and there's still blood on the walls from that conversation, for right or wrong. So in return to the right to hunt in Franklin Township, and these are specifically the preserves of Goodwin, White Clay Crescent, Banffshire, and Franklin preserves, the FSA must adhere to several public safety measures and contribute to community service. And the stated benefit for all of this is to manage the deer population. All good things. And for their part, the FSA has been true to their word. They do a fantastic job with community service. They are responsible hunters. There have been 0 incidents on the preserves, and the type of hunting they engage in, primarily bow and some shotgun, are very safe forms of hunting. The truth is, regardless of any of the comments that have been stated against them tonight, the FSA has been an asset to this township. Regardless, Franklin Township has existed under an uneasy peace, largely stemming from that early battle and those who fought it. When a hunting proposal comes before the board, some form of what we are experiencing tonight takes place. There's hyperbole and there are accusations thrown around. Interestingly enough, this isn't the only issue where this happens, but I'll get to that in a minute. Our job, I want to talk a little bit about our job as supervisors. Our job as supervisors is to try and find the through line that makes sense not to any individual group, but for the township as a whole. So with this issue, we've been trying to find that balance. And over the past few weeks, I've talked to the individuals on the board. I've talked to individuals on the FSA. I spoke to on the subject at the pro meeting. And normally, and I said I here, but normally this board works really well together, and we usually can find a consensus and a through line that makes sense for everybody. So there's another topic that gets significant pushback within the township, and I'm going to get back and finish my sentence in a minute. But there's another topic that gets significant pushback within this township, and that's the open space spending. Whenever this discussion of open space occurs, a similar story is told. The quote, "the board at the time made a decision." And that board made a major decision, much like the hunting, and it had a long-standing impact on the township. Ironically enough, a lot of the same people who are in this room now go back and forth on that issue, just as much as they go back and forth on the hunting issue. However, in that case, there was some follow-up and some guidance, and that was in the form of a referendum regarding open space spending. This referendum asked the question, do you want to raise taxes in order to pay for open space initiatives? The answer was no. So we got some guidance. We know that the township supports open space initiatives, but they will not support spending more money in raising their taxes to do it. So the board has now obvious guidance from the township. Open space is great. We're not going to pay for it through raised taxes. So let me get back to that through line. I can't say the same thing about hunting as a whole in Franklin Township. I believe hunting is important, and I believe it is necessary. I can't say whether or not the township supports more hunting in Franklin Township or dedicating more land to hunting. And no one on this board can either. We've never asked the township. We've never had that open conversation across the board. And none of us on this board can say that because we have never directly asked. So I would like to give the residents of Franklin Township an opportunity to voice their opinion. So I'm going to kind of cut to the chase, and I'm going to vote no on shortening the hunting season. I support hunting. I feel it's important, and I don't want to take anything away from the FSA. However, I also feel I'm going to vote no on closing the trails in Banishire Preserve, and I'm going to vote no on expanding hunting in Crossan Park. What I do propose is a motion for the board to begin preparing for the next election a referendum addressing the expansion of Franklin Township's hunting program into township property outside of those already established with hunting zones, i.e. expanding hunting into Crossan Park. And that's my comments. Thank you. Don or Stefan, do you have anything else to add?
Well, I would like to say that I have spoken to so many people this last 2 weeks. And I keep going back to all the things that were sent to us about the different parks. And the one that stood out to me the most was in East Bradford. They said they have active and passive parks. Now, we as a group, and I do mean we, all of us have spent this whole last year working on Crossan Park and making Crossan Park more usable and friendlier and prettier and smarter for all of our residents. And we've spent a lot of time, the FSA and the Pro and the Healing Garden volunteers. And we've done our free little libraries. We've gotten reading from the Avon Grove Library. You know, you've painted the tot lot. You've done all the work. And yes, it comes down to perspective. And unfortunately, I've had so many people come to me and say, well, I'm not going to, if they're hunting in Crossan Park, I'm not coming there.
I'm not coming there ever. I'm not coming ever back there. And I love it there. And it is perspective on what people think. And if they don't know hunters, they don't know hunters. I know some of the hunters. I like you guys. We're friends. I think it's fine. I wish I could be like Bill and say that all the preserves were for the animals, because I do believe in that. My father worked for the Nature Conservancy. So I'm a super green person, but I do believe there should be hunting, and I believe there can be hunting. And I do believe there can be safety in hunting, but I would have to say absolutely no to Crossan Park, because the perception right now from the people that use it with the teams and the games and the pickleball and all of us that use the park, absolutely, if you ask any of them, it's absolutely no. Now, if we have to go back and revisit the preserves, that would be one thing. I'm not against hunting because I know the deer population is too much. So I would have to say that we have 4 preserves and we have 1 park. The park is for the people, the preserves are for the animals, but if we have to cull the animals, we have to find a way to cull the animals. But that was my feeling.
Thank you, Don.
All right. Thank you. This was relatively new as of 2.5 weeks. I had not heard about this. So I spent 2.5 weeks trying to hear different opinions and getting educated, and just trying to hear both sides. I thought tonight's meeting has been interesting. I thought that people generally were respectful, good word, thank you. But I also thought that a lot of it was circular. I felt that the people that are in favor of the, for lack of better words, FSA, maybe didn't hear the people in favor, not the word, maybe the pro people, I guess, or the people against the hunting didn't really hear their fears. They didn't understand them. There wasn't the empathy with regards to that. And the people that are on against hunting probably weren't empathetic to the fact that it is safe. I mean, it's proven safe. How do you change someone's fear? You're probably not going to. If there's someone in a park with a gun and it's perfect, and that person is perfectly safe, or in a preserve with a gun, what Dawn said, that person, I'm never going to your park. That might be hyperbole as well, but it's to me, I come away with like, you're not going to change that perception. I wish, tonight we spent a little more time on the proposals as opposed to the fear of hunting versus the, or the defense. I felt the FSA was on trial in many ways. And as opposed to what the proposals are. The proposals were to close 2 trails for a period of time in Banffshire, and to allow hunting at the northern part of hunting, archery, and shotgun, and a northern part of the park. We didn't really talk about that. We talked about a lot of different things. I have a lot of thoughts on things. I think somebody mentioned the idea of possibly, working to, an FSA recommendation of possibly working on increasing the membership. The other idea I have, I don't have a problem with Banffshire. Okay. I think this stems from, pick a period of time 15 years ago when the preserves were there. The preserves have changed, right? The preserves are now, you got Matt, whatever his name is, with the bike trails, you got the trails going in. And then the hunters would say, well, this isn't the same preserves I had 15 years ago. And that, I don't know if that was a jettison for, okay, then why don't we use the park? If the preserves were what they were 15 years ago, maybe we wouldn't be here today. But we are. So the question then becomes, the other thoughts I had as far as ideas, this would be revisions to proposed motions, would be, do we allow, and this is trying to find a somewhat of a middle ground, which I don't think we will, do we allow, for example, hunting at the park on a 1-year trial basis and then review a year later?
idea, do we then also allow a different start period for the park? So I'm not in favor of one, obviously, where you start hunting November 1st. I don't think there's any reason for that. But would we say we have normal hunting season in the preserves on September 15th? Around there, give or take. And then we say we would allow hunting in Crossan Park starting October 15th or whatever it is. These are revised proposals. Right. No, that's not. That's not. So those are some suggestions, ideas I thought of, and I know nobody. Those are ones that nobody's going to be happy with. So that's my 5 cents. I mean, I don't like the first one at all. I don't think anybody does.
Can you put it on speaker? No.
Sorry.
Yes,
thank
my,
you.
I apologize. I apologize. Yeah.
We need you up here hitting the button for us.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I was just a side conversation about how we want to handle the motions, but we're going to go through them one at a time and then we can adjust accordingly.
All right, so let me just read them out. I would like to make a motion that the board approve the hunting season, to begin the hunting season in Franklin Township, November 1st. Can I have a second?
I'll second it.
Okay, thank you, Jim. Do we have any further discussion on this? No. Okay. All in favor, say aye. Any opposed, say nay. Nay. All right, motion fails 0-5. Okay, so with Banffshire Preserve, I'll make a motion that the board approve to close the cross trails of Banffshire Preserve from November 1st until December 15th.
I'll second that.
Okay, thank you, Donna. Any further discussion on this? Okay.
Can we hear from your attorney if Jim needs to recuse himself?
Sure. Guy, do we have a legal opinion on whether or not Jim Johnson must recuse himself from this vote?
I've listened carefully. I mean, it was, seems to be the first time it was brought up, at least in my presence. And I listened fairly carefully to the reasons that have been proposed that Jim has a conflict. I don't believe one exists under the Ethics Act. I know the Ethics Act fairly well. So my view, based upon what I understand the facts to be tonight, is that he does not have a voting conflict and he may choose to vote if he wishes.
It's a conflict if he has a material gain, Guy, and he has a $7,700 material conflict.
I'm not going to argue my opinion and my advice. That's my opinion and that's my advice.
That's the end of the conversation. He's not going to recuse himself, Paul. So I would like to make a motion that the board approve to close the cross trails of the Banffshire Preserve from November 1st until December 15th.
I already seconded.
Second. Any further discussion? Okay, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed say nay. Nay. Is that 4-1?
Yes.
Okay. And then the final motion is I would like to make a motion that the board approve to open zones 1, 2, and 3 in the north portion of Crossan Park, zones 1 and 2 for shotgun and archery, and zone 3 for archery only. Can I have a second?
I'll second it.
Thank you, Jim. Any further discussion?
I'd like to make a comment here. So, this is one where, I'm listening to what Dawn said and what Stefan said. I normally would have voted for this. I would have said yes, only because, I was out there with Jim. I saw where this place, where the location of the ground was. It seemed appropriate to me. But I think based on, you were so good about this stuff, emotion, and based on the fear that's real. I mean, it's real. I know you folks are you feel it. I know you're not making it up. It's in your hearts. And how do you tell someone, don't be afraid? So, even though in a logical thought process, I would vote yes for it, I am going to vote no. I think there's a strong sense from the group that they want Cross and Park. They want to know that it's there in their kids. And even though I don't believe an FSA member would ever shoot someone or do anything irresponsible, I don't want a large part of our residents living in fear. I really want the pro and the FSA to work together. And I fear, and I'm not an emotional person, but I feel in my heart that if this would go, that it would rip us apart, and it's not worth it. And if we have a few more deer than we normally would, I say I live with that. That's all I have to say. So I do think logically, I think it could work. It might have worked, but I don't think we're ready for it. And I would just suggest that we don't do it.
Said. Well said.
The one question discussion is I have a problem with Cross and Park on the normal hunting schedule, September 15th. There's a lot of people that still.
Oh, they're voting.
There's a lot of people. There's a lot of people that are out there playing pickleball, playing tennis. There's still a lot of soccer games going on. So I have a problem with the timing. So as the motion is read without any change in the motion to a different start date, I would say no. If the motion was read and it was revised to a different start date, maybe October 15th, I would say yes. But I don't think we're going to need that.
What do you mean by we're not going to need that?
You won't get the vote.
Oh, we won't get the vote in either case. Okay.
You're not going.
Okay. All right. So let me just reread the motion and then we'll vote. So we'll make the motion that the board approves zone 1, 2, and 3 in the north portion of Cross and Park, zone 1 and 2 for shotgun and archery, and zone 3 for archery only. Jim had seconded it. So all in favor say aye. Any opposed say nay. Nay. Motion fails 1-4. Okay. So one final motion to consider. And again, I don't want to reread my my incredibly well-written speech. But I will sign copies if you'd like. So I propose a motion for the board to begin preparing for the next election, a referendum addressing the expansion of Franklin Township's hunting program into township property outside of those already established with hunting zones. For example, expansion into Cross and Park. May I have a second? Okay, thank you, Stefan. Any discussion?
Would that be explicit or just as written?
I think we need to work on the wording.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, I think we just need to work on what that wording is. And I tried to make it vague in this because it's tricky. Referendums are tricky and you need to have the right wording. So
I think it's fair. We've heard both sides tonight. We would like to hear from the rest of the township.
Okay.
There's not enough people in here to really say what the township thinks. So.
All right. Thank you, Jim. So may I have a second? Oh, Stefan, you did. Thank you. Any further discussion?
Part of me goes back to what it just said, keep it out of Cross and Park. So I don't, but if we want to, if you're going to keep it hazy and it's about us thinking about it and figuring if it's feasible, I'm happy for, I mean, something like, I'm not thrilled about rushing to this right now, but Yeah, I'm ambivalent. I guess the way I feel right now is, we've had this conversation. We've agreed not to go to Crossing Park. Maybe we just kind of sit on it for a little bit, but you don't need my vote if you guys, the rest of you go for it. then- But I don't think I'll vote for it now.
Okay. All right, so any other discussion? All right, all in favor, say aye. Aye. All opposed, say nay. 3-2. Okay. All right, so
Just a comment. I think you should be proud of yourselves, all of you. You've done a great job. Really, just you listen to each other, you said your opinions, and you just conducted yourself in a way that I think we should be proud of as Franklin Township residents. So thank you for that. I appreciate that.
and again, thank you all for coming out. I know this is a long night, and we got stuff to do. Oh my God, we still have stuff to do.
Hey,
right.
Dave, can I make a public comment before everybody leaves? Did you guys hold on just a second, especially Bob? So there was a few things said to me that I never got a chance to rebut against, but they're just quick. One is, I said 9 deer because Bob had said that, and Bob, we read the meeting minutes from the Board of Supervisors and it said 9 deer. That's why we used it, not because you said it. So there was no February minutes. So if there was an additional deer, 6 deer, whatever. Yeah. So I didn't want Bob to think it was his fault. I'm just saying that's what the minutes said. All right. The other one is everyone's worried about the private club. I'm not sure what the definition of a private club is all of a sudden, but it's a limited or exclusive club. And like Jim, you've been in it the whole time except 1 year, and Mark and Bob. Someone has to die for someone else to get in, right? So
That's not true.
exclusive.
That's not true.
So
we've survived.
Yeah.
This entire meeting without
No,
this tit-for-tat conversation.
I'm apologizing for using the word private. Call it exclusive, whatever you want to call it.
So I just want to say we survived without this tit-for-tat conversation. Let's.
But no, I'm going to tell a fact. Dave. There's a fact that every single person in Franklin Township that's wanted to become a member of the FSA has never waited more than that year that he signed up. You just heard from Pat Dennison, who signed up in the middle of a year, got in the next year. We do switch people over. There are clubs that do not, that are exclusive, that you can't get into. One of them has all the natural lands trust. So that's one you can't get into in the last 20 years.
People are waiting. All right, we got stuff to do.
Work.
Thank you, everybody, for coming. I really appreciate.
Yeah, but this is normal business here. It's land development extension for Nori Heckerot. I hope I pronounced the last name correctly.
Why don't we wait until we get it?
Okay.
We'd stay and be quiet.
All right, thank you. This is Stefan, Land Development Extension, Nori Heckrot, Roach. I'll just really read it. From the desk of Nori Heck Road Development LLC, 1691 New London Road, land number PA 19350. And this is the context. It's like 3 sentences. I, Nori Heck Road, owner of Heck Road Development LLC and project manager for 1691 New London Road, will be extending the project approval timeline to December 31st of 2023. I will inform the township of any updates as they become available.
Yeah, and this is something that happens periodically. Nuri has a project where he is opening up a auto repair business, I believe is what it is. And it's been on the books for a while now. And occasionally when projects get delayed, they need to ask for an extension. So this is what Nuri is asking for here. Do we have a motion?
No.
So can we just
I
make a
thought in
motion?
the past we required motions.
Yeah, so I'll just, you want to just make one up?
Yeah,
I make a motion to approve the,
okay, I make, sorry. Help me out here. I make
All
a
right.
motion to approve the extension for Nori Heck Road. You're looking at the wrong motion.
to December.
Thanks. To December 31st of 2023. May I have a second?
I'll
Second.
Any discussion? None hearing. A motion approves, no, but I got to vote on this thing here.
Yeah.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, say nay. All right.
That's fine.
I vote. Thank you.
Well done.
Seconded it.
I did.
All right, Donna.
Okay, so it's going to go to Fulton Bank account. So I make a motion that the board approve resolution 2023-08, allowing the supervisors, township controller, and township secretary to be authorized signers, users of the Fulton Bank Township Event Fund. Can I have a second?
I'll second
All
that.
right, thanks, Dave. Any discussion? Okay. I have a vote on that. So all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Against, nay.
Okay.
Motion carries 5-0.
All right, so public comment. We go to our final public comment. This public comment can include comments on anything attendees may want to share. Commenters must state their name and whether they are a township resident or a taxpayer of the township. Do we have any public comment? Nothing? Nothing? You're here right to the end. All right. Not hearing any public comments, I will move to adjourn tonight's meeting at 10:06 p.m. May I have a second? All right.
So second, it was a second.
I'll say Stefan seconded that. Do we have any discussion on adjourning tonight's meeting?
Yeah, I don't want to leave yet. I want to stay here for another hour.
All right. I disagree. All in
Can't disagree.
all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, say nay.
Okay.
All right. Good night, everybody. Thank you very much.